you don't exist. Take a perk and a talk of that shit. Money swallowed like sis. Did it perfect in the kid. Got a billion who sang on my head. Look me better, put on the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million. The devil, that shit ain't not cheaper again.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the 6th part of What If Deku and Hero Academia joins Power Rangers. Smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. The Desaz King continued his match as he destroyed everything in his way. The soldier who was still alive was running away from the king of their enemy. They know they didn't stand against that thing, so retarded was the only opinion. When all hope seemed lost, out of nowhere, a chain claw wrapped around the Desaz King's body, stopping it in places as a black arrow hit the Desaz back before exploding, making the Desaz King fall over with a hole in its back. The soldier turned around to look at what was responsible for that, and what they made their eyes widened in pure shock. They see 5 different colorful robots carrying different weapons in their hands, readying to fight the monster. The Ren Shogun Zord was holding a red shield. The Blue Shogun Zord was holding a blue staff. The Black Shogun Zord was holding a black bow and arrow. The Yellow Shogun Zord was holding a yellow chain claw. The White Shogun Zord was holding a white dual sai in its hands. Looks like we made it in time, Mia said with relief as they were able to save the soldiers' lives. And the soldiers are okay too, Chu. Sachu happily said. Nice shot, Tamara. Lau complimented her teammate. Thanks, Tamara simply said with a nod. Those Zords are a lot easier to use than I thought, Kurumi said out loud. True, and our only means of stopping the Desaz King, Asuka exclaimed. Get ready everyone, and is getting back on his feet, Ren warned them. The Desaz King raises back on his feet as its injury regenerates, and then its attention to the Shogun Zords. Then it fired multiple blasts of fireballs from his mouth at the Zords, which resulted in multiple explosions that slightly damaged the Zords as sparks were flying off them, but not too much. They all screamed with their Zords shaking as sparks were fighting around the cockpits. Damn, that monster, Asuka cursed. We have to keep fighting, Hirumi said in worry. And we will, Ren said in encouragement as he moved the White Shogun Zord forward. The Desaz King fires more balls of flame at the White Shogun Zord, but the Red Shogun Zord steps in front of the White Shogun Zord with its shield held up. Not this time, Asuka declared. The Red Shogun Zord blocked all the fireballs with its shield while pulling forward with the White Shogun Zord behind it, protecting Ren and Kurumi. Don't forget about us, Lau said while quickly attacking the Desaz from the left side. The Blue Shogun Zord jumps at the Desaz with its staff to hit the monster on its side, only for the Desaz King to avoid the assault, but that led to his mistake as the Yellow Shogun Zord swings its chain claw and scratches the Desaz on its head to deal damage before an arrow fired from the Black Shogun Zord hits his left leg to stopping its movements. Now's our chance, Chu, Sachu exclaimed. Then the White and Red Shogun Zords run closer and unleash a fury of strikes with their weapons. The Blue Shogun Zord joins the assault, dealing every more damage to the Desaz King as the 3 Shogun Zord do one final hard attack that pushes the Desaz back on his hands and knees. Take that ugly, Nia shouted with a grin as they brought it down. Wait, something is not right, Ren said as he noticed something strange about the Desaz. Look, they all saw the Desaz King's injuries closing up again. Is it regenerating? Hirumi cried in horror. It's using its magical power to recover itself, Tamara said, clicking her tongue in frustration. Looks like we'll have to do much more damage so it regenerates anymore, Lau said to them. Hey Ren, do those Zords have anything else they can do? Asuka asked the ranger. They do, Ren said with a nod as he was looking forward to the next part. We'll bring all the Shogun Zords together to form the Shogun Megazord. That surprised them when they heard that, forming giant robots together to create a bigger, better robot. At this point, nothing that Ren does surprises them anymore as they are willing to give it a try. Okay, let's try it, Asuka said. Everyone, follow Ren's lead. Roger that, the girls said to their leader. Ren, go for it, Asuka said to him. Ren did a quick nod as he took charge. Everyone form up, he ordered them. With that side, the Zords line up together with the Red Shogun Zord standing in the middle, the White and Yellow Shogun Zords on the left, and the Blue and Black Shogun Zords on the right. Everyone who was watching these was wondering what they were going to do next. Shogun Megazord power now, Ren shouted while doing arm motions before punching his fists together. The 5 Shogun Zords then put their weapons away and did a fighting stance before all 5 Zords put their hands together by their chests, making hand signs like ninjas, and then lightning flashed from the sky as a projection of the Shogun Megazord appeared behind them. Then suddenly, the 5 Shogun Zords ran along together like ninjas with their right arms in front and left arms behind them. The red Shogun Zord placed its left hand in front of itself and moved its other arm down before disappearing, as the Zord's arms and legs retracted with something flipping up from its waist to the chest as the Zord's body formed into a head and torso. The blue and white Shogun Zords did the exact same thing as the red Shogun Zord and disappeared too, and then stood back to back from one another as both of the Zord's arms retraced up to their heads covering them over, and then armored appeared on their legs, forming the arms. They've got a power and a force that you've never seen before. The black and yellow Shogun Zords did what the others did, right before they disappeared as well, and then turned as they stood beside each other with the yellow Shogun Zord on the right and black Shogun Zord on the left, as the Zords shrunk their bodies down to from legs. The 2 legs landed on the ground as the head and torso, and both of the other arms were all coming together to form the Megazord's body with large amounts of electricity pulling each of them in like a magnet. Then a headpiece landed on top of the Megazord's head to complete the Megazord transformation as the Shogun Megazord raised its arms above its head and moved them back down to the sides while a flash of lightning made the ground explode with dust. They've got the ability to morph and to even up the score. Shogun Megazord power up. They all shouted together in sync as they were currently standing in a cockpit with Mia, Asuka, and Tamara sitting in front, and Lao, Ren, and Kurumi in the back with Lao and Kurumi sitting down, and Ren standing up on his feet in the middle of them as Sachu was floating right next to the White Ranger on his left side. After witnessing the Megazord transformation, the soldiers on the battlefield and the Spirit Realm Treaty Organization's jaws dropped again in complete disbelief as they saw 5 giant robots form together to become one bigger with Godsmack expressions all over their faces as they stood over 56 meters tall. The soldiers on the battlefield were looking up at the Megazord with widened eyes as if an angel come to save them from this living hell. General Tabira immediately dropped her magical staff while looking at the Shogun Megazord with interest as she had never seen anything like this before in her life. With the fairy general was at her own world. The governments were having a field day with what Ren just did, as they wanted their own giant robots. Meanwhile, back in the cockpit of the Megazord, the magical girls and Sachu were beyond amazed at this. "This is the coolest thing ever," Sachu excitedly said in the air. "Did this really just happen?" Kurumi asked in amazed. "Yes, it did," Lao said with a smile. "We're inside a giant robot formed from other robots. Now I've seen it all," Tamara said, keeping her emotions in check. "Okay, I'm not going to lie, but this is pretty freaking badass right now," Mia said in excitement. "Incredible," Asuka said looking around the cockpit. "It almost feels like a dream." "Oh, it's real. Very real," Ren said to her. "In order for us to pilot the Megazord at its full potential, we need to act and think as one," Ren said, as the Desaz King was back on its feet, fully recovered from its injuries. "And not a moment too soon. Time for round 2. On it," Asuka said before turning to Mia. "Mia, use your X-ray vision to find the Desaz's crystal vein." "Got it." Mia nodded before she looked forward at the Desaz King. The blonde American's eyes lit up and her pupils became slit. She was now about to see through the Desaz King's body and saw the crystal vein was located in the center of its chest. "Found it," Mia declared before blinking as she called off her X-ray. The crystal vein located in the center of the bastard's chest. "Then that's where we aim," Ren said before raising his hand forward. "Go time." The Desaz King rushes at the Shogun Megazord and raises its hand for a punch, but the Megazord blocks it and counters with a left hook that pushes the Desaz back. But the Desaz King then swung his arms wildly as the Shogun Megazord was his multiple times. Sparks were flying off its body, but it didn't do that much damage. The Shogun Megazord then stopped the assault by kicking the Desaz in the stomach to push it back before punching the king twice in the face, and then a left hook to the chest. "Man, this is rough," Kurumi commented with one eye closed. "But it will take more than that to stop us," Ren said before turning to Lao. "Lao, let's give this freak a present," he suggested. "You got it, Ren," Lao said before pressing a few buttons, right before the Desaz King stood up again. "No one can ever take them down." The Megazord brought its hands forward as a storm of white flower petals came flying out of the Shogun Megazord's chest at the Desaz King, causing many powerful explosions that hurt the Desaz and leaving it defenseless. "The power lies in their CIII'd. Haha, that's totally cool. Yeah, Ren pumped his fist in the air. Pretty impressive for a bunch of flower petals, Tamara admitted as she came up with a new idea for a weapon. Let's not give it a chance to recover, Asuka said, pressing buttons on the console. Right, time for the final attack, Ren ordered. Go, go, Power Rangers. A fish symbol on the Shogun Megazord's right shoulder lit up, and then the flame saber appeared in its right hand. Then the flame saber lit on fire as the Megazord moved the saber to the side, then above its head, holding it with both hands. Go, go, Power Rangers. The Shogun Megazord then brought the flame saber down on the Desaz King's chest, slashed the crystal vein in the process as the King of the Desaz let out a painful roar, and then the Shogun Megazord held up its right hand, giving a salute before nodding. Go, go, Power Rangers. Sparks of red electricity were flying off of the Desaz King's body as it was howling in unbearable pain before falling over to the ground and exploding in a gigantic explosion, destroying it completely from this world. You mighty morphin Power Rangers. When the dust cleared, the Desaz King was nowhere to be seen, which only meant one thing to everyone there. They won. The battlefield stood silent as everyone was processing everything that was happening. A soldier broke out a cry of joy as one by one the other soldiers started to cheer in celebration that the 2 years of this hell were finally over and the world was saved. The Spirit Realm Treaty Organization was also cheering in their war room with the death of the Desaz King as the battle finally was over and the world, thanks to the magical girls and the mystery boy whom they wanted to meet in person. Tabira was grateful that the king of her world's greatest enemy was destroyed. It was all thanks to that young man and his strange powers that all of this was possible. She would love to meet him personally and thank him for saving her magical girls' lives and stopping the Desaz from destroying this world. Back in the cockpit of the Megazord, they were also processing everything as well. Is it finally over? Kurumi asked, breaking the silence. I think so, Tamara said, unsure. Sachu, can you still feel the presence of the Desaz King? Ren asked the Black Fairy. No, the magical signature of the Desaz King has completely vanished. We did, Sachu happily said while flying around the air in joy. This made the others sigh in relief as it was finally over. What a relief, Mia said, sighing heavily as she leaned back in her chair with her eyes closed. Yeah, I'm so tired right now, Lao said, doing the same thing as Mia. And another one bites the dust. Holo Tommy thought as he was glad this war was over. So it's finally over, Asuka sadly thought as she started to tear up, remembering her fallen friends and the sacrifices they made. Rest in peace, everyone. Ren, Sachu, and the magical girls exited the Megazord before it disappeared in light, returning back to the Morphin Grid, which surprised everyone watching. What happened to the Megazord? Tamara asked in concern. It just returned back to the Morphin Grid, Ren said, confusing them. Morphin Grid? Mia asked with a raised eyebrow. Something you don't need to worry about, Ren said before powering down back to normal. Well, I guess this is it. This made the girls worry as they knew what he meant. You're leaving already? Lao asked him. Yeah, I mean I came here to stop this war and save you 5. Now that I accomplished what I came here to do, there's really no reason for me to stay here in this world any longer, Ren said before saying something else. Plus I have my own life to get back to, not to mention I have school tomorrow. When you put it like that, it does make sense, Chu, Sachu said in a sad voice. But you could at least stay a bit longer, Kurumi said to them. Sorry, I can't do that. Ren shook his head to them. Like I said, I need to get back before I start to make people worry about me for being gone for so long. Ren then used the Master Morpher to open up a portal a few feet away from them back to his universe. That may ride. So, then out of nowhere, Asuka rushed into him and gave him a tight hug which caught everyone by surprise. Asuka, Ren asked in surprise. Thank you so much, Asuka said in his chest as she was holding him tightly. You saved our lives and our world from the Desaz. I don't know how I can ever make it up to you. Wow, there's no reason to thank me for anything. I just didn't want any other person would have done it. It was nothing special, Ren nervously said to her. Then he felt someone hitting his back. When Ren looked, he saw Kurumi embracing him in her hug. Kurumi, Ren said, it was more than nothing, you big dummy. We wouldn't even be here right now if you hadn't shown up to help us, Kurumi said with a blush on her face. Then Mia, Lao, and Tamara also joined in the hug as they gave their own thanks to him as they owe the Hero Force Ranger an incredible debt. They eventually let go of them, with Asuka holding on to him a little longer before letting go as she had a blush on her face in embarrassment. Will we ever see you again? Asuka cutely asked as she was looking away. Who knows, chances are you may never see me again, Ren said, making them worry. But who knows, I may come in and pay you a visit if I got time. You better, cause if you don't, I'll find a way to cross over to your universe and punish you. Mia joked but was somewhat serious too. I don't want this to be goodbye forever as well, Ren. Tamara smiled at him. I will repay you for what did here someday. Don't think you can get rid of us that easily. You're stuck with us for life, Lao said, winking at him. So don't forget about us now, Kirumi said to him with a bright smile. Yeah, and I want to see more of your ranger forms, Sachu said, being a fan of the Power Rangers now. Ren just laughed at all of this as he couldn't say no to them. Alright, you win. I'll come and visit you all from time to time, Ren said, making them happy. That's all we ask for, Asuka said with a smile. Ren nodded to them before walking to the portal until he stopped. He then turned to the girls to say one last thing to them. I know this may not be much, but as long as you're all still alive, your fallen friends' spirits and will of fire will live on inside of all of you, Ren said, making their eyes widen. They might be gone, but as long as you never forget them, they truly aren't dead, he said to them with a smile before jumping into the portal as it closed behind him. The girls were left alone to think on their thoughts at what Ren said to them. Ren Amamiya, Asuka thought, looking up at the sky before smiling sadly. I hope I can see you again soon. My Hero Academia universe, Amamiya Resident Knight. A portal opens up in Ren's room, and the Hero Force Ranger steps out of it. The portal disappears behind him. Man, I'm tired. Ren yawned as he stretched his arms out. Holo Tommy appears next to him with a smile and says, I'm extremely proud of you, Ren. You saved those girls and their world from total destruction, he happily said to his student. Ren just scratched the back of his head with his eyes closed. I just did what any other person in my position would have done, Ren said, not making a big deal out of it. But not many people would have done what you did. I'm pretty sure they're going to make songs about you because of your actions, Holo Tommy said. Maybe so, but I didn't do it for fame and glory. I did it to save lives and to protect those who couldn't fight for themselves, Ren said, reopening his eyes as he was thinking about the girls. I just hope nothing else bad happens to them. Only time will tell. But you have your own problems to worry about, like school, Holo Tommy said, pointing at Ren's clock. It was 4:37 a.m. in the morning. I was gone for 2 hours. Man, I need to get to bed, Ren said, taking off his morpher. Rest up, cause clothes shopping and hero training starts tomorrow, Holo Tommy told him before disappearing. Ren placed his master morpher on his desk and looked at a still sleeping Eri. I told you I would be back, Ren said softly as he rubbed her head with his fingers running through the girl's hair. Eri was sleeping soundly like a baby as it put Ren's mind at ease. Well, time to sleep, Ren said, going back to his bed, and immediately passed out. Combat training. Amamiya Resident Knight. Ren woke up when he felt something poking his face. He opened his eyes to see it was Eri who was hanging over him and moved away when she saw him waking up. Ren looked at his alarm clock and it was 5:15 a.m. in the morning. Eri, what's wrong? Ren tiredly said, rubbing his eyes. It's too dark, Eri said with a scared look. Ren looked over to the night light and saw that it had gone out. Makes sense, since he hadn't used it in years and it was pretty old. Sorry, Eri, but I don't have another one, Ren said to her. Do you think you can sleep without it? He asked. No, Eri said, shaking her head. Ren thought for a moment to see how he could fix the problem. Would it make you feel better if you slept next to me? Ren asked. Yes, Eri said with a nod. Ren lifted the sheet for her to get in. Eri was now lying next to Ren before he lowered the sheets. I know it will still be dark, but this will help a little bit, Ren said to her. Thank you, Ren. Eri thanked him with a smile. Ren just rubbed her head and went back to sleep with Eri clinging onto him like a body pillow as the two of them fell back to sleep. Amamiya Resident Morning. It was 6:50 a.m. and Kenji was going to wake up his son and Eri so they could buy some clothes for her. Ren and Eri, it's time to wake up, Kenji said, knocking on the door. The two begin to wake up from their sleep, from Kenji's voice. We're up, Dad, Ren said, as he stretched his arms out, and Eri gave a light yawn. Breakfast is on the table. Come and eat when you're ready, Kenji said before walking away from the door. Ren got up from his bed and turned to Eri. Ready for today? She gave him a nod. Ren, Eri, and Kenji were in the dining room eating their breakfast. Eri was eating her food instantly. So how do we do this? Kenji asked. I called my school and they can't really just have me bring a 6-year-old in. From what I told them from Chisaki's memories, they have to be careful because of her quirk's nature. So I think she might have to stay with you today, Ren explained to his father. Ren, I have work today. How am I supposed to run the restaurant and look after her at the same time? Kenji said. Why don't you take her with you? She shouldn't cause any trouble. Just bring her to the school later, and after that, I'll bring her back home. If things go the way I think it will, Eri will be coming to school with us anyway. Ren told his father the plan. Kenji looked at Eri, who was distracted stuffing food in her mouth. Alright, let me just make a call to Huni so he can let everyone know that I'm coming in with a kid and leaving early. Give me a second, he said, pulling out his phone to make a call to the restaurant. Sure, Ren said, sitting next to Eri, and started eating. You like them? MMHM. She responds, her mouth full. Ren could sense Iri's aura and she was happy with a big smile on her, which was going. Kenji then ended his call. Alright, Huni was caught up to speed and he agreed to it. He said, I can take Iri for today. Just talk with your teachers today about what to do with her tomorrow. Alright, yeah, I got it. I should get going before the stores open and drop her back off. Ren said, getting ready to leave. You're leaving? Iri asked, looking like she might cry. Her eyes are getting pretty misty, and her frown is getting lower. Ren looked at her sad expression, and she didn't look too convinced. Her head kept lowering, and she was less interested in eating. Ren feels bad for making that decision without taking Iri's feelings into consideration. Iri seems emotionally attached to Ren and being separated from her might do more harm than good, especially with everything she's been through, thanks to that Yakuza villain. Ren sighed to himself and pulled out his phone. Let me make a call. I gotta see if I can do something about this. Ren making the call to UA. After a few minutes, he hung up the call and then faced Kenji and Iri. Okay, so Principal Nezu gave me the okay to begin Iri with me to class, he said to them. Really? Kenji asked, when Ren gave him a nod. So I can go with you? Iri asked, hoping for a yes. Yep, you can come with me to my school. Problem solved, Ren said with a smile. Iri then gave a big smile. Ren, it's 7:10. You might want to get going now, Kenji said, remaining his son his own the clock. Right, Iri, if you're done, we need to go get you some new clothes. Ren said, okay, she said, finishing the last of her food. Here, it's the leftover curry from last night, Kenji said, handing Ren and Iri lunches to him. Thanks, Dad, Ren said, putting the lunch in his bag. Time to go, Iri, he said, taking Iri's hand as they left the house to the shopping center. UA high school classroom one morning. So has anyone seen Amamiya? Irakara asked the class. I texted him this morning, but he hasn't replied yet, Midoriya said, looking at his phone. Yeah, you think something happened to him? Jiru asked them with a little concern. I hope not, there's something I want to ask him, Mina said, hoping he would show up today. Come on, you guys saw what he did yesterday. Nibro blasted through the quirk test. I'm sure he's fine, Kirishima stated, having faith in his friend. I agree with Kirishima, I am sure Ren will arrive soon. Momo gave her an option. In any case, class is about to begin. Everyone in your seats, Ida yelled at the top of his lungs. We're already sitting, dumbass, Bakugou said in annoyance. Dang it, Ida said, sitting down in disappointment, not following his own rule. Moments later, Aizawa walked into the classroom, closing the door behind him. Good morning, Mr. Aizawa. The class greeted me. Yeah, right. Morning. Is everyone here? Aizawa asked. Ida raised his hand. Actually, sir, it seems Amamiya isn't. The door to the classroom burst open suddenly, showing Ren holding on to the entrance. He seemed a little out of breath, as if he was in a hurry to get here. But more surprising than his sudden arrival was a little girl wearing a black hoodie with a pink butterfly in the middle of his shirt, and a red skirt. Under it, she wore gray tights and a large set of tan boots. The girl was by his side, holding his right hand. Sorry, I'm late. Had to talk to the principal, Ren explained. You might want to read this, Mr. Aizawa. Pulling a sheet of paper from his package, Ren walked over to Aizawa and handed him the note. Aizawa spent quite a while reading it over. Nezu went into a lot of detail about Ren's situation. During that time, Iri clung closer to Ren, as she was not comfortable with the attention she was receiving from the other students. Ren did his best to help her, holding her hand tight. Aizawa then finished reading the note and looked at Ren. Okay then, grab a chair for her and take your seat. The class will begin after. What? The class erupted in simultaneous disbelief. Every single person had their own questions. Why the fuck did he bring a kid here? Bakugou asked in anger. Is that allowed? Momo asked in confusion. She looks so cute. But why is she with Amamiya? Mina asked. Is she a new student? Did she skip a few grades? Yurakara asked. Silence. Aizawa ordered the class. There a reason Amamiya bought this child here. However, it is currently sensitive information. For now, just pay her no mind, and let's continue with class, understood? The class murmured in agreement, while Ren pulled up a chair for Iri to sit next to him. Now, let's begin homeroom, Aizawa said, starting the class. You doing already, Iri? Ren whispers to her. Iri gives a little nod to him. Okay, just sit there and wait until class is over, Ren said to her as he bought out his phone and headphones. Here, watch a movie to keep you from being bored, he said, putting the earphones in her ear and playing a movie for her to watch. Iri was now holding Ren's phone, watching a cartoon movie to pass the time. Then Ren felt a tug on his shoulder and turned to see it was Jiru. Heya, is she your sister? Jiru asked. Ren thought about how he was going to answer that. Well, no. Lee and my dad are taking care of her for a few days. Sorry, but I can't say why though. Pay attention. This is important, Aizawa said, not taking his eyes off the board. Yes sir, Ren and Jiru both said together. Ren looked to his side, watching Eri as she was focused on the movie, which was a good thing since it made her more comfortable. UA, high school classroom one afternoon. The rest of the day is less eventful than Ren had initially. Was no freak out from Eri, and everyone else was mostly respectful and kept their distance. Some of them had questions but backed off when Ren told them he wasn't allowed to give answers yet. Even his teammates were asking him who Eri was, but he told them that he couldn't talk about it, and they decided to respect his decision. Homeroom along with the rest of the classes finished pretty soon. Then lunchtime comes around the corner. Attention students. Will Ren Amamiya please report to the principal's office? The announcement said. Guess that's our cue. Come on Eri, Ren said, grabbing their lunches and holding on to Eri's hands. We'll catch up with you guys later. See you later, Ren, Midoriya said as they both walked out of the classroom. As they did, the class started talking. Ren was able to hear all of this thanks to his enhanced hearing. I don't think she's his sister. They don't look anything alike, Irakara said to them. Maybe they are half-siblings, Kirishima said, giving his opinion. That is a possibility, but I'm curious why she's with him. Ida replies, maybe they're related. I mean, they're both pretty quiet. Kaminari suggests. No, Amamiya seems to be more of the chill type of person than quiet. That girl kinda looked like she was scared of everything. Mina said, not everything. She's just scared of guys in bird masks. Ren thought as he was walking with Eri to Nezu's office. You're right. The look she was giving off was that of a scared child. Takoyami agreed with Mina. Probably cause she was shy, ribbit, Tsuyu said with a finger on her cheek. Hey, Midoriya and Jiru, you two seem pretty tight with Amamiya. Does he have any siblings or something? Shiro asked them. Not that I heard of, Jiru said, shaking her head. No, Ren never mentioned anything about having siblings, Midoriya said to them. Then who is she? Shoji asked. Who the fuck cares? Bakugou said in a non-caring tone. I don't know why you extras around making a big deal out of the wannabe and the horn brat, he said, annoyed by the conversation. Bakugou, that is completely rude and unacceptable behavior, Ida said, scolding him. Yeah man, don't be a jerk, Kaminari said. Whatever, Bakugou said, rolling his eyes. UA, high school principal's office afternoon. Ren and Eri kept walking down the hallway until they reached the principal's office. Ren then knocked on the door. Come in, Nezu said behind the door. They both walked inside the office, and Ren could see how clean and proper it was. Nezu, the intelligent animal, was sitting on the couch with his usual smile, drinking tea. Take your seats. Go ahead and put your lunches down, Nezu said, and his gaze was focused on Eri. I must say, young one, it's certainly a pleasure to finally meet you. Eri just gave a small nod, even though she was nervous being in the room. It's alright, child. I understand that you must have been through some traumatic experiences. It is alright if you don't feel entirely comfortable. Just know that no one in this school would hurt you. They only wish to help you, Nezu said to make Eri feel comfortable. Eri almost smiled upon hearing those words. Now, Mr. Amamiya, could you explain to me what happened? I did speak to the police, but I want to hear your side of the story, Nezu said. Not really much to say. Ren begins to say. I was walking home when Eri ran into me. I was helping her up when Chisaki followed her out of the alley, he explained to the principal. Ren saw Eri tense up when imagined he mentioned Chisaki's name. He grabbed her hand to calm the girl down. I could tell he was dangerous, so morph into a Power Ranger to subdue and knock him unconscious. Ren finished. That was risky. You are only a student after all. Why not call a nearby hero? Nezu suggests. There was no time to call a hero for help and there was no one else in the area at the time. So I had no choice but to do something about it, Ren stated. No choice? Nezu asked his student. I let him make the first move to see what his quirk was and made him think he killed me. Once his guard was down, I used my sword to dislocate his hands to keep him from using his powers, and manipulate the ground to trap him in Earth Prison. Ren explained to him. Even so, it was a dangerous situation for you to be in, Nezu said. Have you forgotten about the conditions we made, Principal Nezu? That the Power Rangers can act freely, Ren reminded him. No, I haven't forgotten, young Amamiya. But if the situation had escalated beyond that, you would be in serious trouble right now, young man. As it stands now, you may eat. Nezu order. Right, Ren said, unpacking his and Eri's lunches. The leftover curry from last night. You have a microwave? He asked. Yes, it's over there, Nezu said, pointing to where it is. Ren walked over to the microwave and heated the curry up to have a hot meal. So young Amamiya, what does Mr. Oliver think about all of this? Nezu asked his student. Ren then turned his head to Nezu. He's been pretty quiet lately because he didn't want to freak Eri out. But he thinks I made the right choice, and that any other Power Ranger would have done the exact same thing. Ren said to him. I see. If Mr. Oliver said you did a good job, then I can't fully fault you, Nezu said. Also, the Master Morpher has selected a new candidate to become a Power Ranger, Ren said, making the principal smile. Really? That's wonderful news to hear, Nezu happily said with his arms in the air. Eri just looked at them confusingly, not knowing what they were talking about. So tell me, who was the lucky person to be chosen? Nezu asked. A girl from Class 1B named Itsuka Kendo, Ren said to him. Itsuka Kendo, huh? An interesting young girl. From what I read about her file, young Kendo's family owns a dojo and has been practicing martial arts for years. She would make an excellent addition to the Hero Force Rangers, Nezu said with a smile. The martial arts? Interesting. There's no telling how strong she'll be when she does become a Power Ranger, Holotami thought. I plan on talking to her later on today to see if she's interested in joining our team, Ren said. Well, I hope she does, Nezu said. When the microwave timer went off, Ren grabbed the hot food, and both he and Eri started to eat their lunches. I must say, that food smells quite good. Is it homemade? Nezu asked. Kinda, it's my dad's special recipe. He owns his own restaurant, Big Bites. Have you heard of it? Ren said. I have, and your father sounds like an interesting person, Nezu said with a smile. Maybe I'll pay a visit to your father and ask him what he thinks about your recent actions. Ren just rolled his eyes to that as he kept eating. He turned slightly to see Eri trying to swallow her curry in one bite. Whoa Eri, calm down. The food not going anywhere. You can relax. Ren tells her to slow down. Ah yes, this brings up a few things I have to say. After hearing about Eri's quirk from Detective Tsukachi, we will run some tests this afternoon in Gym Gamma, so be sure to be there, Nezu said to Ren. Yes sir, Ren said with a nod. Now on to the next thing. Do you know when your hero studies classes? Nezu asked. That's my next class after lunch. Why? Ren raised an eyebrow to the question. Because I'm afraid Eri won't be able to join you, Nezu said with a stern look. What? Ren said in surprise. I talked with the teacher for the class earlier. The entire class will be particularly in an activity, one that requires your absolute focus. I'm afraid Eri will have to stay here for the remainder of the class time, Nezu explained to Ren. Ren looked over to Eri and could see the tears from her eyes beginning to fall. Sir, is there any other way to do this? I don't know if Eri can handle being alone with me yet. She's still attached, Ren said, hoping for a yes. I understand your concern, but unfortunately, sending her with you would place her in physical danger. The activity that you will participate in will require the students to use their quirks, and you to use the powers that you have. Eri is unlikely to be safe around all of that, Nezu said. I can't disagree with that reasoning. Holotami thought that having Eri there would do more harm than good. Ren thought about it for a moment before speaking. How long will she have to wait? He asked. Eri looks surprised at the question, but Ren gives her a safe face. Normally, I would say the whole period, but I can be flexible, Nezu said. Depending on how long it takes you to complete your task for the activity, you can come get her when you are done. I will contact the teacher to let him know. Does this work? Ren figured that this was the best he was going to get and looked at Eri. She looked upset at the idea, her glossy eyes fixed on the floor. Hey, don't worry, Ren said, doing his best to comfort her. I told you, no here wants to hurt you. I won't be gone for long. I just have to do this one thing, and I'll be back. I promise. You do? Eri asked while looking up at Ren with her red eyes, both in pupil and skin from the crying. Ren then softly placed his hand on her head, rubbing it a little with a warm smile on his face. Yeah, I swear. I'll come right back as soon as I can. Besides, he knows how to help you. He pointed at Nezu. I do indeed. Nezu relied. I won't pressure you into anything you don't want to do, but I do have a few options for things you could do yourself, young Eri. Do you have a drawing? Ren suggests. Eri likes to draw, right? I guess. Eri silently mutters. Clearly not like the idea. Eri, Ren said. Ding 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 ding. That's the bell, young man. You should get moving, the principal said. Ren sighs, before grabbing his bag and the empty lunch bowls. I promise I'll come back as quickly as I can, Eri, Ren said. Okay, Ren, Eri said in a low tone. Then the Power Ranger left the room and closed the door behind. It's for the best, kid, Holotami said. Nezu did make a good point that bringing Eri to your hero class would be dangerous. I know, but, Ren said in a painful tone. It feels wrong. I know, but sometimes we have to do things we don't want, whether we like it or not, Holotami said to the boy. Ren knew Holotami was right and couldn't deny it. He then just walked back to his class, hoping it would end soon so he could see Eri again. UA high school classroom one afternoon. Ren made it back to the classroom in time before the teacher showed up. Everyone was pumped up for the next class. Hell, even Ren couldn't help but feel excited for the Hero Studies class. It was the main reason why they were all here. Man, oh man, I can't wait for the next class to begin. Kaminari said with a smile. I know, right? Minto agreed. So, Ren, who's the girl? Jiru asked him. Her name is Iri. Ren answered. Where is she? Wasn't she with you? Sato asked the boy. I had to leave her with the principal, Ren answered. So, why is she here with you? I need to know. Mina begged him. Need to? Really? Ren raised an eyebrow. Fine, I want to know. Can I know? Mina asked. Sorry, but no, Ren said with a disappointed look. I already said I can't talk about it. So can you all please just drop it? Ren asked them. The class wanted to know, but ultimately gave up on it. It seems Ren wasn't going to say any more than he was to. Everyone in your seats. Ida suddenly yelled. Class is about to begin. We're already sitting. You're the only one who's not. Ren pointed out as Ida realized his mistake. Blasted. Ida yelled as he sat down. I need to do better. Ren decided to ignore Ida's self-deprivation and forced on the door. He waited for the teacher to show up to start the class. Wait a minute. Who's teaching this class again? Ren thought. I am. Here. All Might said, bursting into the room, several looks of awe appearing around the room as they looked at him. Coming through the door like a hero. Whoa. The class gasped in unison. That is not how a normal person comes through the door. Tommy thought. I can't believe it's really All Might. Kaminari excitedly pounded his fists on the table. Kirishima grinned, raising his fist. So he is a teacher. This year is gonna be totally awesome. He said. Hey look, Tsuyu said, pressing a finger against her chin as All Might walked into the room. Is he wearing his Silver Age costume? I'm getting goosebumps. Ajiro commented with a smile. It's so retro. So All Mights are teachers for this class. Didn't see that coming. Ren thought, looking at the number 1 hero. Man, it is a nostalgia to see that costume. Midoriya thought. All Might stood before the class, fists on his hips. Welcome to the most important class at UA. Hi, think of it as Heroing 101. He said with a smile on his face. Here you will learn the basics of being a pro and what it means to fight in the name of good. He flexed away from the class before spinning around. Let's get into it. Today's lesson. All Might pull out a card that read battle. Will pull no punches. Fight training. Bakugou thought with a terrifyingly excited expression on his face. Real combat. Midoriya thought nervously. But one of the keys of being a hero is. All Might said, turning dramatically. Pointing at the wall, shelves were pushed outwards, each labeled with a different number. Looking good. These were designed for you based on your quirk registration forms and the requests you sent in before school started. The class gasped, cheering as All Might laughed. Midoriya smiled, determined. Costumes, sir. I only counted 20 cases. Momo pointed out. That is true, and it's something I have been meaning to ask about. All Might said, looking in Ren's direction. Young Amamiya, you did not submit anything for a costume. Is there a reason for this? I asked Principal Nezu to do it for me, Ren said to the hero. He had a specially made shirt for me, and it's in my bag along with some clothes I brought from home. Then some of the class starts to mutter to each other about the strange way Ren got his hero costume. Are you sure, dude? UA is known for making good costumes. Kirishima asked him. Yeah, don't worry about it. I know what I'm doing. Ren said back. Alright then. If that's all, then get yourselves suited up. All Might instructed. And meet me at training ground beta, he said before walking out of the classroom. Yes sir, the class replied. Everyone grabbed their costumes and went to the changing room. UA, high school ground beta afternoon. All Might stood at the end of the gate, waiting for his students to arrive. Suddenly, dark silhouettes started walking towards him. They say that clothes make the pros, young ladies and gentlemen. And behold, you are the proof. All Might said as several parts of costumes were shown. Take this to heart. From now on you are all. As all the students were walking in line. Heroes in training. Yuga Aoyama was wearing a bluish-black bodysuit, over which he wears a suit of metallic lavender and golden armor, a chest plate, 2 spherical shoulder pads, elbow-length vambraces, and knee-length boots. His chest plate has a high V-neck collar with a golden Greek fret-like trim, as with the lower diaphanous piece under the belt and the edges of the vambraces. It also comes with a long, glittery indigo cape as well as a belt with a golden ring-shaped buckle with a blue crystal, from which he emits his quirk, matching the smaller ones over his shoulder pads and knees. He has straight angled golden lines running down his baggy pants, a matching set around the shafts of his boots, and he wears a red tinted wing-shaped visor over his eyes. Nina Ashido was wearing a plain white mask over her eyes, with a purple and turquoise skin-tight bodysuit with a camouflage pattern, ending just above her breasts. Over this, she wears a cropped, sleeveless, tan-colored waistcoat with white fur along its collar, which she leaves unbuttoned. She wears custom-made plum violet and beige acid-proof boots with holes in the soles, allowing her to secrete acid from her feet to slide around. Tsuyuasui was wearing a bright green turtleneck bodysuit, tan-colored gloves with large buckles on each wrist guard, and 2 matching belts, one above her breasts, a strap at either side going around her shoulders, and one around her waist, little green dots embedded into it all the way around. 2 black lines run all the way down her suit, each framed with yellow, and she wears tight black boots with markings in the shape of a V on her thighs, green webbed flippers resembling frogs' toes on her feet. She wears a headband with a color matching that of her gloves, and goggles with dark green tinted lenses attached on either side. Tenya Ida was wearing a black one-piece suit with a high collar, over which he wears various pieces of armor, all in a pale silver in color, including a chest plate, a metal collar around his neck and another around his upper arm, and metal vambraces that extend past his elbows pointed at the ends. He wears a helmet covering his entire face, its sharp bevel full of holes to allow him to speak and breathe easily, and its upper piece rounded over his head with 2 larger holes on either side, 2 curved horns just behind, and a single spike sticking out of the back of his head. On his feet, he wears silver knee-high boots with gold accessories, which are specialized for his quirk, and around his torso, he has 3 thick metal pipes attached with a blue band, although these only serve as decoration. Ochako Yurikara was wearing a black full-body suit with a pale pink design down the middle of her torso, 2 black circles on her chest, and a black rectangle below her waist, running between her legs. There are 2 more pink patches over her shoulders, both cut off by darker pink armbands that match the thick choker around her neck. She has circular wrist guards, a dark pink handle on the back of each one, wide knee-high boots with magenta soles, and a 2-piece belt around her waist, a circle embedded into the center where the pieces join up. A helmet with a tinted visor sometimes worn on her head, all of which are the same pale pink color. Mishirawa was wearing a plain karate gi, tied with a black belt, its collar partially lined with fur. He also wears black boots with sand blue details. Ren was wearing short-sleeve hood black jacket, with 4 pockets, 2 on each side of his jacket, red stars on both sides of the jacket's shoulder. His jacket was opened and underneath it he'd had on a white long-sleeve shirt with the large Power Rangers Thunderbolt logo in the middle that Ren asked Nezu to specially make for him. He also has on green cargo pants with flip pockets on each side legs. Denki Kaminari was wearing a plain white shirt, over which he wears an open black jacket with a white lightning pattern across his back, and matching pants with 2 lines running down his legs. He has a single, square-shaped earphone over his right ear, something resembling a radio antenna sticking out of the top. Eijiro Kirishima was wearing 2 dark red gear-shaped shoulder pads. A jagged sash joins the one on his left to the right side of his belt, which has a red R set into its center. Below this, he wears baggy black pants and half cape with a ripped hem. He also sports dark red boots and multiple thick rings going around his calves. He leaves his chest bare, and wears a wired guard around his face, reaching from just above his hairline to below his jaw, an extra piece going over the bridge of his nose, and some spiked pieces around his mouth which resemble little fangs. Koji Koda was wearing a tight yellow suit, only reaching to his knees and elbows, with a large red marking over his torso and at the ends of his sleeves. On his chest, there's a symbol resembling an open mouth, and he wears yellow shoes with red lining. Rikido Sato was wearing a yellow full-body suit, covering the entirety of his body, the only exceptions being the holes around his mouth, each of his eyes, and his hair. He wears white gloves and boots, and a utility belt around his waist, small quantities of sugar stored inside its pouches. Mizo Shoji was wearing tight blue tank top, 6 white markings resembling eyes, connected at the top to a darker, more indigo-colored mask, its design the same as the one he usually wears. He has a belt with another, larger eye shape embedded into its center, this time yellow, below which he wears slightly baggy trousers to match his shirt, 2 darker lines running down the sides of his legs, and indigo boots. Kyoka Jiru was wearing a black leather jacket, long salmon-colored shirt with several rips at the collar and hem, black pants, and boots with stereos built into their shafts. She also has 2 small, triangular red paint marks just below her eyes, a plain black choker, and white fingerless gloves. Hantasiro was wearing a black, skin-tight bodysuit with a turtleneck, which is plain apart from a white design on his mid-torso area, and 2 yellow trimmings around each of his elbow-length sleeves. He wears white boots, lined with yellow, and has white short bands around his waist and the sides of his thighs, a larger one across his chest to connect his shoulder pads, which are shaped like tape dispensers. He completes his outfit with a yellow helmet, shaped similarly to his shoulder pads, which has a large black visor obscuring his face. Fumikage Takoyami was wearing a dark purple where light hits it, that covers his entire body, only stopping halfway down his shins, and knee-high black boots. During the joint training arc, it was revealed that under this cape he wears a dark t-shirt, wristbands, a pair of baggy pants, and a utility belt with a double pin buckle. Shototodoroki was wearing a plain off-white shirt with matching pants and boots, with 2 gold-colored straps going over his shoulders. He has what appears to be a material resembling ice covering his whole left side, even his head, although it is detachable. Tora Hagakure was wearing a pair of light blue gloves, decorated by pale pink lines, and light brownish-gray lace-up shoes. Katsuki Bakugou was wearing a tight, black, sleeveless tank top, with an orange X across the middle, forming a V-neck. There are 2 dots along the left line of his collar, indicating the support company that designed his costume. His costume also has a metallic neck brace worn with rectangular ends that have 3 holes on each side. His sleeves reach from within his large grenade-like gauntlets to his biceps. His belt, which also carries grenades, holds up his baggy pants with knee guards, below which he sports black, knee-high combat boots with orange soles and eyelets. His mask is jagged and black, and as it goes around his eyes, a large, orange-rimmed flare shape protrudes from each side. Izukumidoriya was a dark green sturdier full-body jumpsuit with a red belt, elbow pads. Knee pads have been extended to his legs and reach up to his thighs, and gloves with new gloves are tinted beige and are decorated with blue stripes, along with his signature red boots. He also wears a diamond-shaped mask, and has 8 holes with long ear-like protrusions that resembles All Might's haircut that's hanging on his back. MHA was wearing a very simplistic, consisting only of a purple shirt and mask with a yellow cape, boots, and gloves. His pants are white with a lighter purple trim, and they stick out quite a lot around his waist. And Momoye was wearing a high-collared, sleeveless crimson leotard with silver lines at her waist and around her arms, which is open to expose her skin from her neck to just below her navel. She sports calf-length crimson boots with heels, which dip sharply down in the center, and 2 gold utility belts around her waist, another, thinner one around the top portion of her chest, below her shoulders. The design choice allows her to create items from as many points in her body as possible, as her quirk can only be used if her skin is exposed. Before all the Hero Course students enrolled at UA High, they submitted their quirk registration forms, which included physical measurements and any desired costume designs to an exclusive clothing company designated by the school. Several sheets were pulled from the envelope, giving rough sketches and instructions for making the students' costumes. With all that info, they created state-of-the-art costumes for their students. This is getting me all ramped up. You look so cool. Yeah, All Might grinned. Shall we get started? You bunch of newbies. All Might yelled. They aren't heroes yet, All Might, Aizawa said walking next to him. Toshinori did not let his smile falter, as hard as it was at the blunt reply. Come now, Aizawa, All Might replied. Those young men and ladies have already proven themselves. We must take pride in the fact that we are teaching them. Until they earn their licenses, that remains to be seen, Aizawa said in a dry tone. Soon all the students started to talk with each other about their hero costumes. Hey Midoriya, nice costume, Ren said to his friend. Thanks, Ren. Your outfit is cool too, Midoriya said before looking at Ren's shirt. Ren, is that? Yeah, it is. Ren nodded to him, knowing what he was going to say. Wanted to carry on the legacy. That's so cool. Why didn't I think of that? Midoriya thought in surprise. You went with the plain and simple look, just like me, Ren, Jiru said as she walked up to them. Your costume is interesting too, Greenie. Thanks, your costume definitely gives off a punk rock vibe, which suits your style, Ren said. Yeah, it's not too flashy but still leaves an impression, Midoriya added. Jiru immediately had a slight blush on her cheeks and looked away from the sudden compliments. Thanks, Ren and Midoriya, Jiru said, not looking at him. He thinks I look cool, the rocker girl thought, giving a quick peek at Ren before looking away again, still with a blush on her face. As they were talking, the 3 noticed Momo, Yurikara, Tsuyu, Mina, Toru, and Ida coming up to them. Hey guys, Yurikara shouted while running up to them. Your costumes look great. Thanks, Yurikara, Midoriya said with a blush on his face while looking at Yurikara's costume. Is she wearing a bodysuit? My heart can't take it, he thought before speaking again. Why you look pretty in your HH hero costume, Yurikara. Really? Thanks a lot, Deku. It means a lot to hear you say that, Yurikara said with a blush while rubbing her head. Before Midoriya said something back, Toru moved right next to him. Hey, Midoriya, what do you think of my costume? Toru asked, waving her glove around. It looks interesting. But is that it? Midoriya asked the invisible girl. Yeah, since my quirk only lets my body be invisible, this is the only thing I can wear to make myself a little more noticeable, Toru explained to him. So does that mean you're? Midoriya said before realizing what Toru meant, then started to blush madly. I'm sorry, Hagakure, I didn't mean to look. I sorrow it wasn't no purpose, he said while looking away. Toru just slightly giggles at Midoriya's cute reaction. It's fine, Midoriya, I don't really mind. Really? Midoriya asked slowly, looking back. Yeah, it's not like you can see me or anything, Toru said before blushing even knowing it couldn't be seen. Besides, I don't really mind if it's you, Midoriya. Your hero costume looks impressive, Midoriya ribbit. Tsuyu said to him. Thanks, Asui. Your costume is impressive as well, Midoriya said. I thought I told you to call me Tsuyu said bluntly. Right, sorry, Midoriya nervously said. Did I miss something? Ren asked as Midoriya was getting close to 3 of the girls in class. After you left the class yesterday with Mr. Aizawa, all of us kind of hit it off, and now we're friends, Ida said to him. Is that Ida? He kinda looks like a knight, Ren thought looking at the turbo boy. Hope you don't mind me joining this group, he jokingly said to him. Of course not, you are more than welcome to join us, Ida said with a hand over his heart. I think you look great, Amamiya. Ren then turned to Mina, seeing her walking to him. The name Mina Ishido, but you can call me Mina. Hey, Mina, it's nice to meet you. Since we're going by first names, just call me Ren, Ren said back to her. He noticed that her costume did look good on her and didn't leave a little to the imagination. She noticed this and made a sly smile. Like what you see, Ren? Mina asked in a sweet tone while pushing her cleavage closer to Ren's face. Ren desperately tries to avert his eyes from the cleavage that is vividly displayed in front of him, with every single inch of self-control. Your outfit looks good on you, Mina. I like it, he said with a smile, keeping up his poker face. Mina's cheeks are slightly darker from Ren's compliment. Thanks, Renren, Mina said smiling to her love interest. Renren, Ren thought in confusion from the nickname. Then his gaze turned to Momo, who was right next to him. Yaoyorozu, is that your costume? Ren asked, feeling his hormones rising from looking at her costume. Yes, and sorry about that. It's kinda of embarrassing a little wearing this. There's a reason for it though, I need my skin to be exposed so I can use my quirk to its fullest. Momo said, a little embarrassed. Makes sense given the nature of your quirk, Ren said, understanding her power. But not going lie, you look great in that costume, he said with a little grin. The words Ren said made Momo blush and grow warm inside again. I see, thank you, Ren, she said smiling. Minta walked up to them and looked at the girl's costume in a lustful way. I love this school, Minta said, giving a thumbs up. But his happiness was short-lived when Ren shot a ball of water at the purple pervert, knocking him down on the ground in pain. What was that for? Minta yelled at Ren. That's for thinking of something dirty about the girls in the class, Ren said, making another ball of water as it was hovering over his hand. And you'll get another one if you don't keep it in your pants, he treated the little pervert. Why, yes sir, Minta shook in fear. The girls smile at Ren's chivalrous action by putting the class pervert in his place. Momo, who sees Ren controlling water, brought out a notebook and pen and wrote down the information in it. Water manipulation. Interesting, she whispered. Ren noticed this and asked, what are you writing? He asked in curiosity. I'm writing down every feat that you, Midoriya, and Jiru had performed, Momo answered while she continued to write. You 3 have shown abilities and technology never seen before. If I tell my family about you, they would immediately support you Power Rangers to boost their reputation. They would definitely love that, she explained before looking at Ren. Ren and Holotomi's eyes widened from that. You would really do that for us? Ren asked in disbelief. But of course, Ren. To be honest, I have been interested in you for a while since the sludge villain incident, Momo said to him with a smile. I never seen anything like what you did before. I know with some help from my family, you and the other Rangers could become one of the greatest hero teams in the country. I for one hope you would take up my offer so I can see you become an amazing quirkless hero, she said to the stunned boy. Holotomi knows about Yaoyorozu's family. Momo is the heiress to one of, if not the most, influential companies in all of Japan. They handle almost everything in terms of the Japanese market, from importing materials to producing goods in factories. They are integral to Japan's place in the international market. Having someone like Yaoyorozu and her family backing us could benefit the Hero Force Rangers in the future. Holotomi thought that those weren't a bad deal. Ren was about to say something to the rich girl when the Master Morpher started to glow red. As he noticed it, Ren and Holotomi's eyes widened in surprise from this. No way, Ren said looking at his morpher. Yaoyorozu has been chosen. Holotomi thought in shock until the light faded away. As Ren looked at the Master Morpher, Momo also noticed it too. The device on his wrist just glowed red, and it seemed to have taken Ren by surprise. Momo thought in curiosity, what could it mean? Ren then looked at Momo with a slightly intense gaze which made the girl slightly flinch. He then grabbed her by the hand which made Momo slightly blush from the unexpected move. Yaoyorozu, I need you to come with me, Ren said in a serious tone, not giving her the chance to speak back as he pulled her away from the rest of the class. The others noticed this and wondered what they were doing. Hey, why did Ren drag Momo away like that? Mina asked the others. Don't know, but he had a serious expression on his face. Tsuyu said to them, that bastard better not be asking her out. Minta mutters in jealousy. He most wants to talk with her and provide, Ida said. Well, whatever it is, he must have a reason. Yurikara said. Midoriya and Jiru looked at their leader and hoped he knew what he was doing. Bakugou scoffed to himself with his arms crossed as he glared at Ren. When they were a good distance away from the class, Ren let go of her hand and looked straight at her. Ren, what is this about? Momo asked him with a quizzical look on her face. Sorry about that, Yaoyorozu. I just didn't want others to hear us, Ren said to the girl. Yaoyorozu, I have a proposal for you. What kind of proposal? Momo asked in curiosity. Normally I wouldn't share any secret information about the Power Rangers to just anyone, but I am willing to trust you, Ren said, making the girl's eyes widen. Does that mean you'll take me up on my offer? Momo happily said with a bright smile. I am, only if you hear me out first, Ren said before taking a breath. Yaoyorozu, how would you like to become a Power Ranger? This just made Momo's eyes widen in pure shock. Ren was offering her to become a Power Ranger. This was a great opportunity. No, it was an amazing opportunity for the rich girl not to pass up. You want me to be a Power Ranger? Momo gashes in surprise. Yes and no, Ren said, confusing the girl. Look, it's kinda hard to explain right now, but do you want to join my team or not? Yes, I would love to be a Power Ranger, Momo happily said to the boy. Are you sure, Yaoyorozu? This will be a huge responsibility to live up to, Ren said to her. Of course, it would be an honor to fight alongside you and the others as a fellow Power Ranger, Momo said with her hand on her chest. Yaoyorozu will make a great addition to the team, Tommy thought happily as a new ranger joined the team. Ren smiled at the girl and said, that's good to know, Yaoyorozu. You can just call me Momo from now on since we're going to be teammates, Momo said to him. Okay, Momo, Ren said, making Momo blush by calling her by their first name. We can talk more about this later after school. Yes, let's, Momo said with a nod. We should have back now. Ren nodded in agreement as he and Momo walked back to the class. The other asked what they were talking about, but they said it was a provided conversation, so the students decided not to ask any further. Then their homeroom teacher speaks. All we have to do is wait for Class 1B, and then we'll begin, Aizawa said to them. Class 1B, Kaminari said in confusion. They're the other students who were accepted into the hero course, Ajiro answered his question. But why is the other class coming here? Takoyami asked. Both classes will be doing joint training, Aizawa said. Then Class 1 starts to hear footsteps coming down the way they come, revealing the other class. We're here, Eraser ahead, Vlad King said to them, with his class behind him. They were all wearing their gym uniforms. Looks like Class 1B is here, Tommy thought. So there is the other hero course class, Midoriya nervously said. Yeah, they look like they have some interesting quirks, Kirishima said. TCH, more extras, Bakugou annoyingly said, not wanting to deal with even more people. Yui then walked up to her teammates. Nice outfits, guys. They suit you all, Yui said to them. Thanks, Midoriya and Jiru said together. Thanks, Yui, would have loved to see your hero costume, Ren said to the quiet girl. Yui had a light blush on her face. Maybe next time then, she said quietly, wishing she had her hero costume to show Ren. Hey guys, Kendo said, walking up to the Rangers along with Pony and Setsuna. It's great to see you guys again. Kendo, Midoriya said to her. It's nice to see you. Thanks, I'm happy to see you too, Midoriya, Kendo said, winking at the boy. Alright, Midoriya said before looking at Pony, who was standing next to him. Hey, I like your hair. It looks so fluffy, Pony said to him up close. TT thanks. Midoriya blushes nervously at the pretty girls. She's so close and cute. This did not go in unnoticed by Yurikara, Toru, and Tsuyu, who puffed in jealousy. Looks like someone's popular with the ladies, Tommy joked while laughing. Pony then looked at Ren and smiled at her new friend. Hey, Ren, it's good to see you again, she said in English. Ren nodded to her in response with a smile which made the cowgirl giggle. What's up, Mr. Spandex? Setsuna said with a grin, walking up to him. Setsuna, was it? Good to see you again, Ren said to her. Happy that you remember me, Setsuna said. That fight with you and our homeroom teacher yesterday was freaking epic. Happy you enjoy it, Ren said with a nod. Momo took a look at Setsuna and remembered who she was. I remember you, I saw you at the recommended exam. She said to Setsuna. Yeah, I remember you too, Setsuna said, giving her a peace sign. I'm Itsuka Kendo, Class 1B's big sister, Kendo said to them. Sup, name's Setsuna Takage, Class 1B. The girl introduced herself. Pony Tsunotori, Class 1B's foreign student from America. Pony said, speaking in Japanese. Yui Kodai, Class 1B's Hero Force Ranger. Yui said, making their eyes widen in surprise. Yui Kodai, as in the one that placed third on the entrance exam. Mina asked in surprise. Yui nodded in response. Wow, that's incredible. And you said you're a Power Ranger too. That's awesome, Kodai. Toru complimented her. Yui nod. Greetings, I'm Tenya Ida. It's a pleasure to meet more fellow UA students. Ida introduced himself to them. Izukumidoriya, hello, Midoriya said with a little wave. Mina Ashido, super nice to meet all of you. Mina said cheerfully. Yurakara Ochako, happy to meet you. Yurakara said with a bright smile. Momo Yaoyarazu, it's nice to meet you, Momo said with a short bow. My name is Toru Hagakure. Toru said to them. Tsuyu Asui, but please call me Tsu, Ribbit. Tsuyu said in her neural tone. Hey, Kyoka Jiru, Jiru said, playing with one of her jacks. I don't really need to introduce myself since everyone already knows who I am. Ren said to them. Yo, Ren, Kirishima called out, getting the group's attention. Awesome hero costume, bro, Kirishima said to him with a smile. Thanks, yours looks sick too, man, Ren said back. Yeah, it's really a perfect fit matching your style, Midoriya said to the red hair. Thanks, Midoriya, Kirishima said before looking at Ren's shirt. Ren, I gotta ask, but what's with the Thunderbolt design on your shirt? Yes, I'm quite curious about it myself, Ida said as well. If I remembered correctly, you had the principal had that shirt specifically made for you. You did that, Ren? Kendo asked in surprise. Yep, Ren said with a nod. Is it some kind of logo? Pony asked. Sure is, Pony. Someone give this girl a prize, Ren said, making the American girl laugh. I had this logo specifically made to honor the legacy of a certain group of heroes from the past that often used it. You're carrying the legacy of that logo to honor previous heroes. That's so freaking manly. Kirishima was impressed. Wow, really cool, Ren, Yurakara said with a big smile. Yes, it truly is noble that you are honoring the memory of heroes from the past, Ida said, being even more impressed by Ren's actions. Why a thunderbolt though? Do the previous heroes have some kind of a lightning quirk? Ribbit, Tsuyu asked with her head titled to the side. Not exactly. It's more like a team symbol, Midoriya said to them. We don't know either, but they're the ones that created it. Who are the heroes that you are talking about, Ren? Mina asked him. The Power Rangers, Ren said, making the others confused except for his teammates. But aren't you guys the Power Rangers? Toru asked in confusion. We are, but there have been other Power Rangers before us, Yui said to them. Yeah, I remember you said something like that yesterday, Setsuna said before looking at Jiru and Midoriya. And you two can summon costumes just like Ren and Kodai, she asked, getting a nod from the two of them. Wait, are you saying there are more Power Rangers out there besides you guys? Momo asked in surprise. Yes, in fact, our team is actually the current generation of Power Rangers, Jiru said to the rich girl. And when our time is up, a new team of Rangers will take our place to carry on the legacy, Ren said to them. The group was incredibly amazed by what they heard. They are a part of a team of past heroes. But before anyone could say anything else, some shouted. Hey, 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 what's going on here? Tetsu said out loud. Why are all the Class 1 students in their hero outfits? Well, we aren't, he said, complaining. Calm down, Tetsu, Aizawa said to the boy. Unfortunately, the manufacturing companies that we sent your designs to haven't complied yet. There was a poisonous villain attack in the nearby forest, so the area around it was closed down for quarantine. This includes your manufacturer, Aizawa explained to them. What does it have to do with our clothing? Tetsu asked, still not understanding. Unless you want everyone in your class to risk being poisoned, then by all means, go there after class ends and see how it turns out, Aizawa pointed out. We at UA would like to avoid a lawsuit from your parents if possible. Most of the students flinched at the blunt tone. It was true that the poison itself was barely lethal, but it was not something that the school would willingly risk lawsuits for. Ignoring the fact Aizawa himself seemed to cause a few scandals in his time as a teacher. He's right, Tetsu. You'll just have to wait until we receive your hero costumes when the company says that it's safe, Vlad King said to his student. The Class 1B students just accepted the fact and moved on, except for Monoma, who thinks it's unfair. Why don't we put that aside for now? The number 1 hero said. Now that everyone is here, let's begin, All Might said with a boom in his voice. Sir, Ida said, raising his hand. This is the fake city from our entrance exam. Does that mean we'll be conducting urban battles again? He asked. Valid question, Aizawa replied. But no, we're not. It's too much of a pain to explain, so All Might will tell you, he lazily said. Throwing someone under the bus isn't nice, Aizawa, All Might said. Anyway, as Aizawa said, we're not having urban battles as the entrance exam. He explained to the students. So what are we facing? Tetsu impatiently asked. I'll be getting to that in a bit, young Tetsu, All Might said to him. Most of the time, fighting villains take place outside, but if you look at the total numbers, atrocious villains appear indoors at a higher rate. He began explaining. Imprisonment, house arrest, home invasions, secret underground lairs, and backroom deal. In this society filled with heroes, truly intelligent villains hide in the shadows. Ren couldn't help but agree with All Might. Only the smartest and most dangerous villains stay out of sight, hiding in the shadows and waiting for the perfect time to try out their plans. True words. Number 1 hero. Tommy thought in agreement with the enemy the Power Rangers had to battle. Isn't this a little advanced? Suyu asked, tilted her head to the side. All Might grinned at the question. The best training is what you get on the battlefield. But remember, you can't just punch a robot this time. You're dealing with actual people now, he explained. It makes sense. All Power Rangers have little experience when they are villains for the first time, which would be a great disadvantage to average people. But they immediately mastered their fighting techniques and weaponry thanks to the Morphin Grid. Tommy thought in agreement again. For this training exercise, you'll be split into teams of good guys and bad guys, indoor battles, All Might said, which means you'll have to pull your punches to make sure you don't severely hurt your opponent, Vlad King said to the students. After that, both classes began to bombard the teachers with questions. Despite there being 3 of them, they would not be able to handle the onslaught of questions. I guess All Might, Aizawa, and Vlad aren't good at keeping up. Tommy thought with a slight chuckle. I wasn't finished talking. I'll answer all of your questions. Now listen here, All Might said through half-clenched teeth. He then opened up a paper booklet, a script. Ren and Midoriya thought in confusion. The situation is this. The villains have hidden a nuclear missile somewhere in their hideout. The heroes must try to foil their plans, All Might explained, reading the script. The heroes either have to catch the evildoers or recover the weapon. Likewise, the villains succeed if they protect their payload or capture the heroes. He finished his explanation. Sounds like a classic action movie setup, Midoriya commented. It sounds more like a video game, Ren said to him. All Might held a box in front of his face. Time's limited, and teams will be determined by drawing lots. Isn't there a better way? Ida questioned, somewhat surprised. Midoriya held up his finger and smiled. Think about it. Pros often have to team up with heroes from other agencies on the spot. So maybe that's the reason we're seeing that here, he explained to his friend. Ida lowered his shoulders. Yes, I see. Life is a series of random events. He bowed. Excuse my rudeness. It's fine, young Ida. Let's do this quickly, All Might said, laughing. Thank you, young Midoriya. I'm an impressive kid. I don't think even Billy would have immediately thought of that. Tommy impressed with Midoriya. But wait a moment, sir, Setsuna said, raising her hand for a question. How many people will be in teams? You never mention it yet. Teams of 4, Vlad King said to her. 4-on-4 match battles, 4 villains, 4 heroes, and a total of 5 battles. Both classes will be on different teams, their draws. We will divide you all by 4, leaving a total of 10 teams. Divide that by 2 and we have 5 matches to go through this afternoon, he said. Aizawa then finished what was saying. Since there's an odd number of students here, one of the teams will add 1 more person to make a team of 5 people, Aizawa explained to them. With Class 1A, Monoma muttered with a slight frown on his face. Yes, as Midoriya explained, this is to help you prepare for haphazard team-ups in the future, Aizawa said to the classes. Principal Nezu and the rest of the staff realized that teaching you heroes and training the benefits of working together. While it is true that some heroes work solo, more often than not, you'll have to learn to work with others to save lives and stop dangerous villains, All Might explained. That's right. There are some villains out there you can't beat on your own and other situations where they'll have to help civilians in danger. Tommy thought in agreement. That makes sense. I mean, you can't do everything on your own, Sato said out loud. Students exchanged glances at one another, some excited and nervous. They had time to learn about their own classmates but from an entirely separate class. The Hero Force Rangers don't see any problems with it. Forming new relationships with other classmates will help them out in the future and strengthen their bond as Rangers. Now everyone, come up and draw a lot. The paper will have a letter on it, and the letter will assign what team you will be on, Vlad said to the kids. Before the students started to draw lots, Aizawa spoke up. Before that, I already know who the first team will be, he said, making everyone around him confused. You do, Mr. Aizawa? Ida asked. Yes. Aizawa then turned to Ren and the others. Ren Amamiya, izukumidoriya, Yui Kodai, and Kyokajiru. Step forward, he ordered them. The Rangers blinked multiple times from this and just did as Aizawa said. They walked up to Aizawa side by side as the others were staring at them. The Power Rangers Hero Force will be Team Aizawa said to them. Since the four of you are already a team, it's only fitting that you fight as one during the exercise. I get what Aizawa is doing. He wanted the four of them to show the other students the importance of teamwork. Holo Tommy thought as he was impressed by Eraserhead's thinking. Eraser, you covered sly dog. Flad King thought of being on board with this idea. This confused everyone there except for some. Irakara, Aoyama, Ida, and Kendo also knew what they were capable of back at the exam, and were a little worried about fighting against them. They weren't the only ones. The other students already saw how strong the Rangers are and didn't want to challenge them. Momo was interested in seeing her future teammates fight together as one, and how effective they will be. Bakugou, Todoroki, and Monoma didn't seem pleased by this at all and were the only ones who were not afraid to fight them. Mostly Bakugou and Monoma because of their superior and inferiority complexes. The four of them are working together. Interesting, I have to be the one to fight them. Todoroki thought, wanting to fight against the Rangers. Power Rangers. What a stupid ass name. Bakugou thought in anger as Deku, the wannabe, and the two other extras were working on the same team. It does matter if it's 4 or even 100 of those extras. I'll crush all of them by myself and show Deku and the wannabe that their loser asses don't belong here. Damn you, Class 1A, being the current of attention again. Just wait, I'll show you how small you really are compared to Class 1B. Monoma thought as he was going to make humility Class 1A today. He did this on purpose, did he? Jiru asked her team. Yeah, he did, Ren said with a heavy sigh. Alright, now everyone except for the Power Rangers come draw your lots. All Might said to the students. One by one, each student grabbed a lot to see the team they were on. A. Ren Amamiya, izukumidoriya, Yui Kodai, and Kyokajiru. B. Mina Ashido, Ryaiko Yanagi, Nairanjiki Shota, and Yuga Aoyama. C. Kinoko Komori, Tora Hagakure, Mashurawa Jiro, and Hiryu Rin. D. Katsuki Bakugou, Itsuka Kendo, Momoye Urazu, Shototodoroki, and Nito Monoma. E. Tetsu, Tagaru Kamakiri, Ijiro Kirishima, and Tsuyu Asui. F. Kosai Tsubiraba, Denki Kaminari, Senkaibara, and Minoru Mainta. G. Fumikage Takoyami, Koji Koda, Pony Tsunotori, and Yosu Awase. H. Ochako Urakara, Ibara Shizaki, Manga Fukadashi, and Juzo Honuki. I. Jiro Shishida, Rikido Sato, Shihai Kirwaro, and Hanta Siro. J. Satsuna Takage, Kajiro Bondo, Tenya Ida, and Mizo Shoji. What the hell? Mainta cried, tears of fury streaming down his face as he clawed at it. Why am I on a team of all dudes? Hey, you think I like this? Denki said, gritting his teeth. I was at least hoping to team up with one girl. Oh god, I'm on a team with 2 idiots. Sen groaned in frustration. Can we get different teammates? Kosai asked with his hand up. Hey, the idiot duo yelled in defense. Why the fuck do I need to work with these extras? Bakugou said in a pissed off tone. They'll just get in my way. If you Class 1A rejects weren't so full of yourselves, I would almost pity you. Monoma insulted Bakugou. You want to go, copycat? Cause I'll kill you, Bakugou said as his hands were creating mini explosions. Oh, so now violence. This proves that Class 1A's Monoma was then cut off by a giant hand chopping him on the head. Shut up, Monoma. We're on the same team, so behavior, Kendo said to the blonde as he knocked out. I'm sorry about him, by the way. He has a brain of a child sometimes, Kendo said with her hand out to Yaoyorozu. It's quite alright, Kendo. We also have our fair share of problematic classmates, Momo said to her. Well, as long as I'm here, I'll be sure to keep him in check, Kendo said to the girl before smiling. Let's do our best, Yaoyorozu. Yes, let's, Momo said, returning the smile. Todoroki did say anything as he didn't want to get involved in the conversation. Bakugou thought this whole teamwork bullshit was a huge waste of time. As if he needed help from any of those extras. Brats, keep your head in the game and focus on the activity. Aizawa called out to everyone, getting their attention. You can get to know your teammates later, we need to get the first round started. All Might nodded, both of his hands stuffed in black and white boxes labeled Villian and Hero respectively. Aizawa is right, so let's get to the part you all are waiting for. The first teams to fight will be he said, raising his hands out, holding 2 balls. These guys. He held out a black and white D balls. Team D will be the heroes and Team A will be the villains. All Might announced the first team battle. Midoriya and bakugou were surprised by this, as well as Ren and Todoroki. Bakugou smiled evilly as he finally had the chance to make that damn nerd pay for lying to him alone with the wannabe, and those 2 bitches that humiliated him on the entrance exam. Todoroki, on the other hand, sees this as the perfect opportunity to see what Ren was capable of. Monoma, who awakened, was pleased to fight against members of Class 1A and show his superiority over them, exactly the quirkless Amamiya. Meanwhile, Midoriya was shivering at the thought of him going up against Kaken, the person he responded to and feared the most. Well, Ren's face turned into a serious one. He's going up against 2 recommended students, an angry blonde with an exploding fetish, a person who can copy others' powers, and a martial artist. These wouldn't going to be an easy fight to win. Yui, Jiru, Momo, and Kendo didn't seem that bothered by this matchup, as Kendo and Momo were happy to go up against the Power Rangers to test their mettle. Ren then saw bakugou glance over at Midoriya with a death glare, saying, "You're dead, Deku." While Midoriya looked surprised and nervous. Midoriya, Ren whispered from Midoriya to hear. "Don't let him get to you. Remember, you are not the same person you once were. Show bakugou that you are no longer scared of him," Ren said to his friend. Hearing that made Midoriya forget all about his fear, and he balled his hand into a fist, putting a determined look on his face before looking back at bakugou again with his own glare. Bakugou's eyes widened, surprise infecting his features. After a moment, he narrowed his eyes, growling and gritting his teeth at Midoriya. "Everyone else can head to the monitoring room to watch," All Might said to them. "Yes, sir," the class said as they left for the observation room. "Bad guys, you can go on in and get set up," All Might said. "In 5 minutes, the good guys will be let loose and the battle will start." Bakugou and Midoriya kept on glaring at each other for a moment until Ren placed a hand on Midoriya's shoulder, which made him look at his leader. "Save it for later, Midoriya," Ren said as he sent his own glare at the angry boy. "You'll get your chance." Midoriya nodded to Ren, before walking away with his team as bakugou was still angrily staring at them with hatred in his eyes. Power Rangers. All Might caught each of their attention as they were heading into the building. The key to being successful in this challenge is to embody villainy. Think from the perspective of an evildoer, All Might said, giving some helpful advice. "Got it, All Might," Ren simply replied. "Come on, Rangers," he said as his teammates followed him into the building. The team battles begin. UA, High School Ground Beta Afternoon. Villain Team. The Hero Force Rangers were currently in the abandoned fake building as they were about to face off against the Hero Team. "So, what do we do now?" Jiru asked her team. "Before we come up with a game plan, we need to know what the other team quirks can do," Ren said to them. The 3 of them nodded in agreement. "Luckily, I went to Class 1B yesterday and got to learn all of their quirks," Ren said. "We also already know what we are classmates' quirks as well. Yaoyorozu quirk lets her create anything as long as she can understand the structure of what she's making," Jiru said to them. "Kendo quirk lets her enlarge her hands," Yui said quietly but was still heard. "Todoroki quirk can make both ice and fire," Ren said. "Kaken power lets him create explosions from his hands," Midoriya nervously said. "And Monoma's quirk lets him copy the powers of anyone he makes physical contact with," Ren said as they finished their review. Tommy then spoke to his students. "All of them have powerful quirks, but the ones that will give the most trouble would be Kaken, Todoroki, and Monoma," Midoriya said, seeing where Tommy was going with this. "Kaken's power revolves around his palms, which creates nitroglycerin sweat. The more he sweats, the more powerful his explosions will be. Todoroki's quirk lets him cover a wide area, which makes him a long-range fighter, but I haven't seen much of what he could do yet. And Monoma, from what you told me, he could use the powers of everyone on his team, making him tricky to predict in a fight." Midoriya analyzes the other team's quirks. "My thoughts exactly," Ren said with a nod. "Which is why I come up with a plan." "What is it?" Jiru asked. "First off, the weapon," Ren said, walking over to the fake weapon. Midoriya cast a Finishio spell on the weapon. Midoriya was confused at first until his eyes widened in surprise as he realized Ren's plan. "Of course, that's a brilliant idea, Ren," Midoriya said, pulling out his mystic morpher and pointing it at the fake bomb. Finishio. He cast the spell on the bomb and it suddenly visioned from everyone's sight. What happened to the bomb?" Jiru asked weakly, pointing at the bomb where it used to be. "It's still there, but it's just invisible," Midoriya said to her. "I just used a bit of magic to hide it." "Good thinking. If the hero team does somehow manage to get past you, they won't be able to find the weapon," Tommy said, impressed. "Luckily it would come to that, because I have a plan to deal with them." Ren said as he turned to Midoriya. Midoriya, since you know Bakugou better than anyone here, you'll be the one to fight him. Midoriya was nervous to hear that, but deep down he knew it was only a matter of time before he faced off against his old childhood friend. A part of him was scared, but another part wanted to face him with everything he's got to see how far he's gotten as a ranger. I know that look, kid, Holotommy said, breaking him out of his thoughts. You trained for this very moment. Now it's time to show Katsuki Bakugou that you are no larger than the helpless, quirkless boy you once were. You are izukumidoriya, a power ranger, Holotommy said, making his Midoriya eyes widen in surprise. Midoriya looked at his teammates and they gave him supporting smiles as they believed in him. And like I said, you know him better than anyone at this school, which gives you the edge over him, Ren said. Jiru sighed. Bakugou, that jerk. You got a plan of action? She asked him. Midoriya gave a nod. I'm thinking I stay on the defensive and try to counter whatever he does. I know his tells, his quirks, his favorite moves. I know he'll be going on the offensive, but since his attacks don't have the same AoE potential as Todoroki's, I think I can handle them, he declared, albeit with a barely perceptible waver in his tone. Holotommy raised a brow at that. Interesting. I propose you do the exact opposite and take the fight to him. Midoriya's eyes bulged. Seriously, but he's so aggressive, he protested. Exactly, Holotommy affirmed, unperturbed. He's going to be coming at you hard from the start, so I reckon you should match his intensity right off the bat. Don't let up even for a second, because the moment you do, he'll pounce. Midoriya gulped. That sounds risky. It is, Holotommy agreed. Your focus needs to be dialed up to the maximum for this because Bakugou's gonna be going all out the whole time. He could understand Bakugou's way of thinking, but that's why I think it'll work. He won't be expecting you to take the fight to him, to fight fire with fire, so to speak. And as for knowing his tells, do you seriously think he will work with the rest of his teammates? Midoriya winced, his eyes glazing over at the reminder. I guess you have a point. We haven't known him for long like you have, but I can tell he's the type who would rather fight alone than ask for help, Jiru said to him. You're right. When the match starts, he'll just ignore his teammates and go straight for Midoriya without a plan whatsoever, Gui stated. And that's what makes him a dumbass, Ren said while shaking his head. Bakugou's a merciless fighter, Holotommy stated, injecting some steel into his voice to hammer his point home. And he doesn't hold back no matter who his opponent is. Given your history, it's also possible he's going to display his usual fighting style, or try something new. Now, I can't confirm that for sure, but we can't discount the possibility, so we need to be prepared. If he steps it up a notch, you'll have to match him. Midoriya's eyes drifted downwards. Oh okay, are you scared? Holotommy asked softly, unable to keep the frown off his face. Midoriya didn't reply, opting instead to avert his gaze entirely and stare blankly at the wall. It's not a bad thing to be scared, you know, Holotommy said, pleased to see his student relax just a bit. It's not cowardly or childish, don't let anyone tell you otherwise. To be scared is to be human. It means you're aware of the stakes and the consequences of failure. It may make you overly cautious, true, but it can also heighten your senses and push you to try harder than you normally would. Fear, if you know how to use it, can be a powerful weapon. Trust me on that. By now Midoriya's full attention was fixed firmly on Ren, his jaw having gone slack. He swallowed thickly. I am scared, he confessed in a near whisper. I didn't think I would be, and I wasn't back when I realized I was fighting Kaken. But now that the match is so close, it just hit me. It's okay, Holotommy soothed. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with being scared. Tell me, what is it about Bakugou that worries you so much? I know he has it in for me, and I know he's going to be coming at me hard, Midoriya admitted with a rueful shake of the head. I knew that even without you telling me. It's just, the Kaken I'm fighting now is way different than the Kaken I grew up with. Now that made Jiru raise a disbelieving eyebrow. Seriously, after everything he put you through? I mean it, Midoriya snapped back, unflinching. Back then Kaken was still really mean, but I got the feeling he didn't really mean it, like he was trying to be funny more than anything. His teammates didn't believe that for a second. But now, he's so much more malicious than he ever used to be. I know he still wants to be a top hero, but he's so cruel, brutal, and just really, really unpleasant. Ren clasped his fingers together and fixed his friend with a stern gaze. Or maybe, Bakugou's finally showing his true colors. Midoriya's pupils flared. See, that can't be. Kaken's not like that. Just hear me out, Ren pleaded, rubbing the bridge of his nose. Midoriya looked like he wanted to protest, but thankfully remained mute. From what you told us about him before he came to UA, he'd spent his whole life being praised, pampered, and told he'd be the next big thing by everyone around him. He never faced any adversity, and there was no one around to challenge him even a little, so he genuinely believed his own hype and his ego grew and grew to something monstrous. Ren stated to his friend, "I'm willing to bet that when he got into UA and realized he wasn't the top dog anymore. Far from it. In fact, it completely shattered his worldview." Ren said as Bakugou's shitty attitude was getting on his nerves. That's why he's so aggressive and rude to everyone, because he can't accept the fact that there are people out there who are stronger and better than him at something. That's why he's willing to go so far against his classmates. He's not used to being second, third, fourth, hell, even fifth best, so he's overcompensating by lashing out at everyone with some messed up macho mentality. He's desperately trying to claw his way back to the top, but no matter how hard he pushes himself, he just can't find a way to reach it, and that insecurity is eating away at him, bit by bit. Translation: Bakugou was nothing more than a big fish in a small pond. He was so used to fighting people weaker than him that he didn't expect to challenge those who were equal or stronger than him in skill. But now he's in an ocean of those with more talented and powerful quirk than his own. But Bakugou's way too prideful to admit his own weakness. "So then what do I do?" Midoriya whimpered. "I think you already know the answer to that question," Tommy said, getting his attention. "Let Bakugou sort out his own problems. What he does is none of your business. You need to focus on yourself." When his student's forehead creased in worry, the AI let out a weary sigh. "Look, Bakugou has 3 years to get his shit together. If you have that much faith in him, you should have nothing to worry about. How do you think he'd react if he knew you were worrying about him?" Midoriya flinched, then nodded, his emerald eyes taking on a determined sheen. "You're right. It's none of my business." Tommy smiled in relief. "Good to know. Now come on, let's get ready," he suggested. Midoriya then took a deep breath before exhaling his worries. "Right, I'll win against Kaken no matter what and show him that he picked a fight with the wrong opponent," he said with a contract smile. This will be a very important step for Midoriya to take if he hopes to reach the next level as a hero. Tommy thought that Midoriya would first have to deal with his past in order to grow. "So what do we do, Ren?" Yui asked her leader. "Okay, here's what we'd do," Ren said, going over their plan. UA, High School Ground Beta Afternoon. Hero Team. Meanwhile, outside the building of the fake city, the hero team was standing there waiting for the match to start. Normally when put into teams, students find a way to work together. But unfortunately, this group of students wasn't so lucky as they didn't understand the meaning of teamwork. Monoma and Bakugou were having an argument, with Monoma antagonizing Bakugou as the angry blonde was giving him death threats. "The fuck you say about me, copycat? Cause I'll send you to hell," Bakugou said, grabbing onto Monoma's shirt in rage. "I just say that a loudmouth savage like you could make a pretty good hero if they have a competition on who gets angry," Monoma said in a smug tone as he quickly touched Bakugou without him knowing. "You want to die, extra? Cause I got an explode with your name on it," Bakugou shouted at Monoma. "Oh, I'm so scared of class 1, a fool who only knows how to answer with his explosions," Monoma said in a mocking voice to anger Bakugou. "Are you looking down on me, you fucker?" Bakugou shouted, about to use his explosion on Monoma. "I'm going to be the #1 hero one day, so don't you forget it, you copycat fucker." Kendo and Momo both sighed in a mix of frustration and annoyance as those two were getting on their nerves. Todoroki, on the other hand, wasn't paying attention to the argument as he was more forced to face the Rangers. "Alright, you two, enough," Kendo said, getting their attention as that stopped their fighting. "We're supposed to be a team, so start acting like one. We ain't shit big hands. You extras can do whatever the hell you want to do, but don't get in my fucking way," Bakugou argued. "This whole teamwork thing is a load of bullshit. So you're saying you would rather fail than help us?" Momo asked in frustration. "Fail? There is no failing when it comes to me. Those extras on the other team are just a bunch of weak-ass losers with fancy suits, especially Deku and the wannabe," Bakugou said without a care. "That worthless nerd and faker shouldn't even be here at UA. They're nothing more than deadweight that's better off quitting or dead," he stated. This only infuriated both Kendo and Momo as he disrespected the two boys they cared about. He was acting like a barely leashed, rabid animal. "What's your problem with Midoriya and Ren, anyway?" Momo asked, remembering the way he'd acted the previous day during the quirk test. "None of your fucking business," Bakugou barked. "For one, I agree with the loudmouth over here," Monoma said with a cocky smile. "Those two class 1 losers are nothing without their toys and better off dead like most of the quirkless population. And don't even get me started with Rocker Girl and the traitorous Kodai. What is the matter with you two?" Momo yelled out in pure anger at how they were insulting her future teammates like their lives and futures didn't matter. How can you say that about your own classmates? That lying nerd and cheating fucker don't belong here. Everyone here got in with their own powers, while that quirkless cheater wormed his way in with a stupid-ass suit. And Deku, that lying bastard, is going to pay for hiding shit from me, Bakugou shouted. Because everyone in Class 1A and those who side with them doesn't matter, Monoma said with a creepy grin. I mean, you have a quirkless reject for a classmate, he said laughing. Monoma, did you forget what Mr. Vlad said yesterday about underestimating your opponents and what Mr. Aizawa just said about working with other classes? Kendo said as she wanted to hit this big idiot but couldn't become the match could start any second. Like that even matters with Class 1A. This will be easy, Monoma said while laughing like an overconfident child. TCH, listen here you fuckers, Bakugou shouted while pointing in their direction. Deku and the wannabe are mine, got it. You can take care of those two other side characters for all I care, but those cheaters are my kills, he told them before walking off. He was looking forward to beating the shit out of Midoriya and Ren for humiliating him so many times. And this time no one was going to get in his way. Like I take orders from you. If anyone going to beat Amamiya, it's me, Monoma said as he walked off too. Monoma just wanted to humble Class 1A in this test and get back at Ren for making him look like a fool. Momo and Kendo just sighed heavily with frustration at how their two teammates were behaving. It was almost irritating at how childish they were acting. So they decided to have to work together with one another if they had a chance at winning against the Rangers. Todoroki was standing afar from the group as he paid them no mind. He was more focused on fighting the Power Rangers than working with his teammates. It doesn't matter what they transform into too. This match is as good as a win, Todoroki thought as he was planning on freezing the entire building with the Rangers inside too quickly, and the match. UA High School Ground Beta Observation Room afternoon. A few moments ago, in the monitors room, the rest of the teams and teachers watched on the giant screen the multiple shots of the building that would be the place for the first match. Alright students, now watch and analyze their strategies, All Might instructed them. He then proceeded to put on a device to communicate with the participants of the match as well as hearing them. Power Rangers, here, you all are no more than students. I'll grade you strictly without playing favorites. So do your best and remember our training together, he said mentally as he, Aizawa, Vlad, and the rest of the students present stared at the monitors, waiting patiently for one of the teams to make a move. I wonder who's going to win, Shishida asked, placing his hand under his chin. If we're talking about teams, then I have to say the villains, Mina said. I mean Amamiya did take down Mr. Aizawa, and the rest of his team is as strong as him. He also beat Mr. Vlad in the fight as well. Rin said to them, they are powerful, and what we saw them do on the entrance exam and the quirk test was proof enough. Yurikara with a smile. Yeah, the Power Rangers got this one in the bag, Awase said with a smile. That may be true, but let's not forget that Todoroki's quirk is also powerful, Ida stated to the class. Not only that, but he also got in due to recommendation, Kaminari said. Amamiya and his team are strong, but the hero team is no pushovers either. They have the advantage in numbers and 2 recommended students, along with Bakugou. It's still too early to decide on a winner, Ribbit, Tsuyu explained. You're right, Kendo and Monoma quirks seem to be useful in this situation, Pony said in Japanese. Monoma quirk is also something not to joke about either, Shizaki said. As annoying as he may be, she can't deny that his quirk is tricky to deal with. All Might, Aizawa, and Vlad were listening to the students debate on who would win. They were the only ones who knew the truth about Hero Force Rangers' abilities. They admit their powers were impressive, but the 3 of them know that in a fight anything can happen and even the most skilled opponents can fall if they're not prepared for it. Hey look, the villain team is doing something, Juzo said pointing at the screen with the villain team. All Might nearly choke on his spit when he watched in utter fascination as Midoriya made the bomb seem to disappear from view. The room behind him fell silent, and All Might clicked a setting on the display to change it to infrared. The bombs emitted the same temperature of heat signature as before. The prop was still in the room, it had just turned invisible. He knew that young Midoriya used his magic to make the weapon disappear out of sight like that. The more he saw of the Power Rangers do, the more he became aware of how limitless their powers really are. That's a pretty clever plan they just made, Aizawa thought with a raised eyebrow. They hid the weapon out of sight, so even if the hero does get past them, they won't be able to find the weapon because it's invisible. They don't stand a chance, Takoyami simply said without a doubt. What? Sato asked. I know they're outnumbered, but I thought you respected Amamiya. That isn't who he's talking about, Shoji refuted. All Might, Vlad King, and Aizawa were inclined to agree with that as well. Then the next thing they saw was Jiru and Yui running out of the room, and both Ren and Midoriya disappeared from sight. It took everyone by surprise. No way. They can turn invisible. Hagakure was impressed. How? Ryuko wondered as she was intrigued by what Midoriya did. Just how many things can they do? Linda complained as he wished he could turn invisible to peep on girls. Is that allowed? All Might? Bondo asked as he looked at the big screen. I thought we were supposed to wait in the weapon room until the battle started. Yes, it is. You are required to defend the weapon. But as long as you stay inside of the building before the battle begins, then there's nothing wrong with it. All Might said with an ever-present smile. Aizawa would give them points for thinking outside the box. Ambushes early on do exist during indoor villain encounters. Ignoring how rare they are, this will be a necessary experience for the brats to have. It seems the villain team has really come up with a plan, Sen said. Yeah, and heroes, Shota said before looking at the other screen to see the hero team. It looks like they're fighting with each other. The entrance room saw Bakugou yelling at Monoma while the other blonde was yelling at him, with Kendo and Momo trying to stop them from fighting, and with Todoroki just ignoring the whole thing. Most of them couldn't help but sweat drop at the scene before them, as that was the worst matchup in team history. The three teachers just sigh in frustration at how badly the heroes team was falling apart without the match even beginning. If they had to guess, it was Bakugou and Monoma's fault for all of this. UA. High School Ground Beta Afternoon. Hero Team. Alright, listen up. All Might announced through their earpieces, catching the attention of both teams. The match will last for 15 minutes or until one of the teams is defeated. Remember to do your best and go plus ultra. Now let's begin the indoor combat training. Team on Team D. Your time starts now. With the match started, Bakugou immediately walked towards the building entrance to hunt down Midoriya, and Ren with Monoma took following behind with a cocky smirk on his face as he was going to defeat the students of 1A. Guys, wait. We need a plan of attack first, Kendo said out loud. Kendo right. Rushing in blindly will do you no good. Momo added. Fuck off, extras. Bakugou shouted back as he ignored her. Who needs a plan when Class 1A is beneath us? Monoma said without a care. Your help won't be necessary, Todoroki said, getting their attention as it stopped Bakugou and Monoma as well. I can handle this on my own. The fuck you say? Bakugou yelled in response. I don't take orders from you, Monoma argued. Todoroki just ignored them as he walked to the building to freeze it on the inside along with the villain. I thought I already told you idiots to stay out of him. Bakugou was cut off when something hit him on the face hard and he was sent flying back into a building wall. Bakugou was now on the ground in pain and in a daze as the others were surprised by those. What just happened to him? Momo asked in surprise with her eyes widened. I don't know. It looked like someone. Kendo was then cut off when multiple blasts of lasers were raining down on both her and Momo. Og. They both scream in agony as the blasts don't hit them directly, but the mini explosions are enough to do some damage and knock them on the ground in pain. Todoroki immediately got in a defensive stance as he looked to see Yui and Jiru on the rooftop of the building holding blasters in their hands, which were responsible for hitting both his teammates. Surprise, Jiru said while holding a Thundermax blaster with a silver bracelet with a yellow stone attached to her left wrist. Yui said while holding a drive defender. Monoma looked up to see them and then moved to get in a safe direction when he tripped and fell to the floor face first. What the hell? Monoma swore, looking to see what had caused him to trip. Then he felt something twist his left arm and something placed on his back to hold him into place as he howled in pain from the pressure. Todoroki noticed this and thought, what is going on? Is there someone here? Before he could think of anything else, Jiru and Yui fired more lasers down at him. Todoroki made a layer of thick ice to shield himself from the assault, which was protecting him for a while, until he felt something hitting him in the left side of his rib as he was rolling on the floor before he stopped to hold on to his left side in pain. Bakugou, who was slowly recovering from the early attack, looked to see his so-called teammates down on the ground damaged like he was. What the fuck is going on here? Bakugou thought in confusion as he didn't understand what was happening right now. Before anything else happened, Ren and Midoriya started to slowly reappear in sight, with Ren pinned down Monoma as he had his foot on the blonde's back and his arm twisted. Then Jiru and Yui jumped down from the top of the building, landing perfectly on their feet next to Ren. Midoriya was in a fighting stance as he was the one to knock Todoroki and Bakugou down, which made the hero team's eyes widen in surprise at the sneak attack from the villain team as they didn't see it coming. Ren used the power of the invisible from the Black Dino gem. This power belongs to Tommy Oliver, the Black Dino Thunder Ranger, which granted him the power to turn invisible. Hello, did you have a nice trip? Ren smirked at a confused Monoma, Angry Bakugou, a surprised Momo, and Kendo, an irritated Todoroki as he wrapped white capture tape around Monoma's wrist. Impossible. Monoma snarled in surprise. And he's out, Ren said in a baseball empire voice. Monoma has been captured. The hero team loses a member. All Might announced as the first person was eliminated from the match. UA, High School Ground Beta Observation Room afternoon. Back in the monitor's room, everyone was completely surprised by how the villains team caught the heroes off guard and that they lost a member of their team only a few seconds after the match started. Wow, did you see that? The Rangers knocked all the heroes down, Ajiro stated in surprise. And they took out Monoma in a few seconds, Rin added. Come on guys, that's cheating. The surprise attack isn't manly at all, Kirishima said angrily as he threw a fist into his palm. Yeah, that was a cheap shot. Tetsu complained as well. Doesn't this seem a bit, I dunno, that unfair? Mean? Kaminari asked, scratching his head. No, they're being intelligent, Aizawa said, narrowing his eyes at the three as he activated his quirk which made the three shake in fear. The Power Rangers came up with a plan to fight the heroes and made the first move before the other team could, which resulted in them taking out one of their members. It was a solid strategy that's been done many times before in the past. And for the record, I also performed sneak attacks in order to capture villains quickly, he said, canceling his quirk. As always, correct young students. Sneak attacks are sometimes effective in every fight, especially to gain the upper hand, All Might stated. And in fact, I also do surprise attacks as well to catch villains off guard. Yes, but, Ida said in a disapproved tone as he doesn't like such tactics. They're not even giving them the chance to win in a fair fight. It seems villainous. Then they're being good method actors, Vlad King said in a stern voice. They're not supposed to be a hero right now, the Rangers are villains. Well put, Vlad, All Might said. Villains rarely fight fairly. They will use psychological attacks, traps, and other underhanded tactics to defeat you. And the Rangers are doing such that. They're just being cowards, Kamakiri scoffed. They should just face them up close in a real fight. Not fighting them up close doesn't make them cowards, Kamakiri. The villain team is just playing smart, Setsuna said to the boy. Are we not going to point out that Jiru and that 1B girl have laser blasters? Minta shouted. Is something like that even allowed? It's a part of their gear. So yes, Aizawa said in a non-caring tone as he didn't need to explain anything to them. UA, High School Ground Beta afternoon. Meanwhile, back to the action. The hero team was recovering from the Rangers' assault as Monoma was still in shock that he was taken out first and easily no less. Momo's eyes widened in surprise. You'd willingly leave your weapon undefended? She asked in confusion. Isn't that a little too risky? What if one of us got past? Ren continued to smile. Pardon my next few words, they're rather out of character. But how is a hero supposed to save anyone without taking a few risks? It's a part of the job description, he announced. And don't think we didn't leave it unguarded. Even if you do get past us, you won't find it, Jiru said in confidence with her own smile. Monoma then stood up, jabbing a finger towards Ren. I knew a quirkless freak like you was a coward. You hid behind women and then ambushed me, he snarled, seething in rage at being tricked by something like him. Why didn't you fight us seriously? Were you scared of a real opponent? Ren rolled his eyes. I know from out of everyone on your team that Momo, Todoroki, and Bakugou would pose a real problem. I didn't even see any reason to fight you since when your pride would do that for me. Ren gave him a shrug, brushing off his insult. I didn't see a purpose to go all out when a slight distraction and perfectly timed trip from me was all it took for our win, he stated as it infuriated the blonde. Why you Monoma was about to say something until he was cut off. Young Monoma, please step aside as you have been eliminated from the game, All Might ask him. Monoma gritted his teeth in frustration as he walked away in a safe direction from the others as he was staring hatefully at Ren. With Monoma out of the way, the other hero team members got back on their feet as they were ready to fight. Deku, Bakugou roared out as he was pissed. Oh hey, look, it's you, Kaken. So, did you enjoy that little punch I give you? Midoriya asked sarcastically, his expression unchanging. Whoa, kid, a second ago, you were terrified of this jerk and now you want to challenge him like an absolute maniac. Holo Tommy was shocked by the change in attitude. I'm impressed. I guess he can do it if he puts his mind to it. Bakugou snarled back at him and thrust his arms back, propelling himself forward with an explosion. You, F cowardly cheating nerd. I'll kill you, Bakugou exploded, his eyes flaring in unadulterated fury. If he wasn't going to enjoy beating this damn nerd up. Don't fucking look down on me, F Deku, he screamed, charging forward to attack Midoriya with his right hand. However, before Bakugou could react, Midoriya stepped out of the way and grabbed Bakugou's extended right forearm with his own, using Bakugo's speed to throw him over his shoulder and slamming him solidly into the ground. In the monitor room, everybody, except for Aizawa, Vlad King, and All Might had their eyebrows raised as they weren't expecting Midoriya to move so swiftly like that. It wasn't just them, but the people who were fighting were also impressed by this. He has improved so much over the last year. His stance, his throw, his movements, they were all flawless. Very well executed. Tommy noted, clearly amazed by Midoriya's development. I can't believe it. I did it. I managed to hit Kaken. I still can't believe it. Midoriya thought in his mind as he never imagined that a day like this would ever come. A day when he would see Bakugo as just another teen like him. Wow, his martial arts is amazing. Kendo was impressed by Midoriya's amazing counter. What the hell? Did he fucking read me? But how? Bakugo thought, surprised at the sudden change of direction he had experimented. The impact against the ground had enough force to blur his vision, make him spit saliva, and leave him breathless for a moment. Kaken, Midoriya began to speak as Bakugo began to get back up. You usually start a fight with a big right hook. How much do you think I've been watching you? I wrote an analysis of all of the heroes I thought were amazing in my hero journals. In the notebook, you blew up and threw away. What? Bakugo shouted in bewilderment as he too remembered when he threw out Deku's notebook from the window. The name Deku, the same one that you use as an insult to call me useless and worthless. Well, guess what? The name Deku isn't going to mean useless or worthless or good for nothing anymore. Kaken, from now on, Deku is a name that will mean, you can do it, it will mean, never give up, it will be a symbol of hope. From this day forward, Deku is the name of a hero, and I will take great pride in that name until the day I die. Midoriya shouted as the scent of ozone filled the air and powered up to 8% one for all, full cowl. The green lightning that surrounded his body was much more ferocious and violent due to the emotions that Midoriya was feeling at the moment. Everyone on the battlegrounds who heard this was amazed by the green-haired boy as his teammates were smiling in happiness as their friend finally found his confidence. Kendo's cheeks had a slight tinge of red and their heart was beating fast as she was amazed at Midoriya's determination to be a hero. Bakugo now stood completely on his feet, Midoriya's words now stained in his memory forever. Deku, Bakugo remembered the day when Midoriya first stood up to him. He was a weak, small child. He trembled and shook in fear as he stood in front and defended the other little boy that Bakugo and his lackeys were bullying. Midoriya's face was full of tears that day. But now, 11 years later, it was a much different picture. The person who stood in front of him now is by no means a small, weak child. He is a strong, well-built young man. No tears were evident on his face as he had an expression that resembled an undying will, determination, and pride. Back then he had an aura that emanated absolute fear. Now his aura was electric as it oozed power and bravery. Izukumidoriya is no longer afraid of Katsuki Bakugo. Izukumidoriya is now Deku. And Deku is a hero who embodies hope and justice, and he has no fear. He will take on any obstacle that comes his way until he achieves his goal. The green electric eyes bore into Bakugo's soul as the sheer raw power behind them knew no bounds. Even though you were scared that day, you still didn't stand down. And now here you are. After all of the trauma I put you through, you never gave up no matter what, and kept striving for your dreams. And look at you now. You're a completely different person. You have no fear at all. You're not even crying like you used to. You will fight no matter what the odds. And you will prevail. You will win no matter what. Bakugo's hands ignited with small explosions. His whole body was burning in absolute rage. That's what I hate about you. Midoriya ignores his banter and concentrates on his next move. He got into a martial arts stance with Bakugo gritting his teeth in anger after seeing Midoriya standing his ground confidently. Meanwhile, Midoriya was dealing with Bakugo as they planned, and the other rangers were preparing for their opponents to fight. Bakugo, we need to retreat and come up with a plan. Momo shouted at him. Just shut up and don't get in my way. I'm really angry right now. Bakugo replied. It's no use trying, Yaoyorozu, Kendo said to her. He won't listen to reason. We'll just have to do this without him. Momo just let out a sigh of frustration as she could see Kendo's point as Bakugo was a lost cause. Then she used her quirk to make a shield and spear appear from her arms as she got in a fighting stance of her own. You're right. We'll just have to work with Todoroki and hope for the best, Momo said as she looked at the three other rangers. Hopefully he is more helpful than Bakugo is, Kendo said as she took a martial arts stance. Remember the plan, guys, Ren said with Jiru and Yui nod as they ran at Momo and Kendo. He then turned his attention to Todoroki. Just you and me, Todoroki, he said to him. To be honest with you, I was looking forward to fighting you, Amamiya, Todoroki said before sending a wave of ice at his opponent. Ren in response jumps out of the way with his super agility genetic powers to avoid the ice. But Todoroki wasn't letting up as he sent wave after wave of ice at him, with Ren kept on dodging the ice by acrobatic jumping and flipping before landing, and quickly turning his body at Todoroki, making a mad dash at his opponent. Bad move, Todoroki said before unleashing a wave of ice at Ren. Ren only smiled at Todoroki's comment as he brought his right arm up and quickly made a circular motion before a blue shield projection manifested in front of the ranger. It slammed into the thick ice with Ren bulldozing through the attack like it was nothing. This power belongs to Sky Tate, the SPD, Blue Ranger. Sky inherited his parents' power to create powerful shields. They can be used defensively, e.g., as a barrier, or offensively, e.g., to cut off an opponent's oxygen supply, or as a force of propulsion. What? Todoroki said as he was caught off guard by this. When Ren was close enough to Todoroki, he dropped the barrier and kicked him. But Todoroki moved to the right side to avoid the kick and moved his right arm at Ren to freeze him in place. Ren then shifted his body to the side to dodge the attempt and grabbed his left arm, then twisted it to hold him in place. Not good enough, Ren said, quickly moving behind Todoroki's back with his arm. Todoroki was about to freeze Ren's arm but didn't get the chance when he was kicked hard in the back by the ranger, which sent him rolling on the ground. He quickly got up on his knees with him placing his hand on the floor to make shards come out flying at Ren. Spirit of the cheetah, Ren shouted as his hands started to glow yellow energy doing kung fu poses. Then when the ice shards were close enough, he made claw hands and swiftly destroyed all of the ice at rapid speed as the cheetah spirit increased his speed and reflexes. Todoroki wasn't that surprised by this, as Ren was always performing the impossible for a quirkless person. Even so, he wasn't going to lose here as he had something to prove to himself and his old man. Star Slinger, Ren shouted while summoning a yellow slingshot weapon in his right hand, then pointed it at Todoroki as he fired energy pellets at a rapid rate. Todoroki immediately runs out of the way as Ren keeps firing at him with a hair boy, avoiding and blocking the blast with his ice. Todoroki quickly made ice appear under his feet and rode on it to increase his mobility, as he made his way to Ren while blocking the laser blast with an ice shield he made with his hands. Ren knew he had to up his attack power by bringing up his right arm and flexing his muscles to use Gorilla DNA, with Ren's muscles glowing slightly green before fading. Gorilla Punch, Ren shouted before punching the ground, which caused a mini earthquake that destroyed the surface of the floor. But this also breaks all the ice his opponent was riding on. That caught Todoroki by surprise as he lost his footing on the ledge and began to fall down. This power belongs to Ravi Shaw, the Blue Beast Morpher Ranger. Due to being linked with Gorilla DNA, Ravi gained the power to lift heavy objects, his power increasing in his ranger form. He is so strong that he can create a mini earthquake by hitting the ground. Before Todoroki hit the ground, Ren rushed at him with his T-Rex speed to move at superhuman speeds and punched him in the face, sending Todoroki across the street. Todoroki got back up on his feet and had an irritated look on his face. "Damn it," Todoroki shouted, placing his hand on the ground and sending even more ice at Ren. But Ren jumps back to avoid the ice while using the Star Slinger to blast away at the small glacier of ice. "Thundermax Saber," Jiru shouted while switching her blaster to a sword. "Drive Defender, Sword Mode," Yui shouted while switching her blaster to a sword. The two of them ran at their opponents as Momo and Kendo were ready to fight. Jiru extended her earphone jacks at Momo, who used her shield to block the attack and was planning counter with her spear, thinking she had the advantage because of her long-range weapon. But what Momo didn't expect was that Jiru's earphone jacks were strong enough to pierce through her shield and push the girl back. What? Momo was surprised. Jiru swung her sword down at Momo, only for her to quickly thrust her spear tip at the blade to stop the attack. Jiru then used the momentum of the clash to spin her weapon around to knock the spear out of Momo's hands, which shocks them. "You'll have to try harder than that." "Yeah, Momo," Jiru said before rushing at the rich girl, punching her in the face and then following up with a kick in the chest. Momo felt the wind get knocked out of her from the attacks as she took a few steps back with a painful experience on her face. She didn't have time to recover with Jiru swung her sword at the girl, with Momo avoiding the swings while creating another spear in her hands to block her opponent's sword attacks. "I won't lose to you, Jiru. I'm just getting started," Momo declared while pushing Jiru back, then drove her spear toward the punk rock girl. Jiru didn't even move as she used the Thundermax Saber and batted aside effortlessly. "That lacked power," Jiru informed, as she could tell that Momo didn't have any training when it came to using a spear. "Steady your footing. Your back heel is too far back." Momo was slightly annoyed by this and swung the spear towards her. Jiru dodged it a few times, which prompted the creation quirk girl to resume that attack and swing the spear once more. The second time it happened, Jiru coughed the spear in her left hand effectively. Spears are primarily thrusting weapons. You shouldn't swing with them around unless you have a firm grip spread across the shaft, Jiru told her opponent. Thanks for the advice, Momo said with a smile as she revealed a taser in her left hand and thrust it forward at Jiru. But you let your guard down. Jiru in response took a step back while taking air into her lounges, before opening her mouth. Kaya. Jiru using her Tira scream as waves of yellow sonic energy amplified her scream, letting out a terrifyingly loud scream at the raven-haired girl in point-blank range. This power belongs to Kira Ford, the Yellow Dino Thunder Ranger. Due to the powers of the Yellow Dino gem, Kira is able to emit a destructive sonic scream from her vocal cords that has enough power to flatten anything in the scream's path. As a sound-based attack, it also has the added effect of harming the target's hearing. Momo cried out in pain as she dropped her weapons and clamped both hands over her ears to brace against the painfully loud sound infiltrating. When Jiru stops her screaming, she immediately kicks Momo so hard she flies back into a wall, hitting the raven-haired girl lying on the ground in pain. Oh damn, sorry, didn't mean to hurt you that much, yeah Momo, Jiru said in a regretful tone. It's alright, Momo said as she was having a hard time getting up. This is training after all, and getting hurt is expected. Jiru sighed in relief from this and got into a sword stance as the battle was not over yet. Okay, then let's continue, Jiru said. Yui moved forward, swinging her blade toward her opponent. Kendo jerked backward, barely dodging the strike as Yui used her quirk to increase both the size and length of her sword and wrapped Kendo across the side of the head with the flat end. Kendo took a staggering step back to dodge the sword, eyes jumping erratically before throwing a quick punch at Yui, who dodged it with a step backward. But Kendo's fist suddenly expanded, slamming into her torso, but Yui quickly palm slaps the enlarged hand away with her super strength to avoid the attack before her drive defender returned back to normal. Not bad, Kodai, Kendo said with a smile as she attacked again. Yui dodged the next punch, before going even lower as Kendo's fist grew. Kendo grew her other hand and palm thrust it forward like a sumo wrestler, with Yui backflipping in the air to dodge. Drive defender, blaster mode. Yui switched her weapon into a blaster and then rapidly fired at her classmate in midair. Kendo barely had time to move out of the way as the explosion knocked her forward to Yui, with her hands changing back to normal, who already landed on the ground and switched her weapon back to a sword. Yui moved towards Kendo and performed a triple combo with her sword, as Kendo tried to block the attack with her arms crossed before falling down on the floor behind the quiet girl. Yui said in confidence as she turned to look at Kendo, quickly getting back on her feet before running at her again. I won't do so much damage that they will stop this fight, but it's gonna be close. Bakugou rushed at Midoriya, but the latter didn't wait and got closer to the ash blonde hair boy. Bakugou released an explosion at Midoriya, aiming for his chest, but Midoriya immediately ducked under the attack, thanks to his quick reflexes and training as he performed a low sweep kick, making Bakugou fall off of his feet. But before Bakugou could hit the ground, Midoriya punched him in the guts, sending him flying with enough force to the other side of the battleground. Common Bakugou, I thought you were going to hurt me, not getting your ass handed to you by someone you concerned weaker than you, Midoriya said in a mocking voice as he cautiously walked towards him. Or maybe you're the weak one here. Don't look down on me, you fucking pebble. I'm stronger than you'll ever be. Bakugou started to stand up again. His stomach was aching from the pain of that punch. He hit his left hand as he prepared to ignite an explosion. However, this was poorly done, and Izuku could easily tell what he was planning to do, so he just stood where he was, firing the explosion. Bakugou launched himself towards Midoriya at a high speed, aiming a flying kick at his head with his left leg. Once more, though, Midoriya rapidly reacted and grabbed the threatening leg, swinging Bakugou around a few times before throwing him across the fake city and making him fly against the wall, which he hit with his back. "Gah," Bakugou said, spitting out more saliva as he was slammed again. "Keep it up, Bakugou, you are getting so predictable," Midoriya thought as he proceeded to implement the next step of the plan. As soon as Bakugou got back up and placed both of his hands behind him, ready to propel himself, Midoriya ran straight toward him as if he were going to throw a punch. But Bakugou immediately used an explosion to dodge the left, avoiding the punch. From his crouching position, Bakugou brought a palm up, aiming at Midoriya for a counterattack. Midoriya immediately moved as he kicked the wall of the building to push himself out of the way in time, as the explosion that would have hit him right between the legs sailed overhead once again. "No need to try to wreck my junk out of penis envy, Bakugou," Midoriya quipped from where he was crouched. Did you have fun laughing behind my back all these years, you fucking bastard? Bakugou snarled as he started launching multiple explosions, hands slapping out like a sumo wrestler, an explosion being launched each time. Come on, where's your flashy power or piece of shit costume? Deku, quark or quirkless, you are beneath me. Geez, and I thought Zed was the only one with anger issues. Holotommy was annoyed by Bakugou's pride. Midoriya was easily dodging each time, as he was faster than Bakugou thanks to One for All. The ranger's eyes narrowed as he waited for Bakugou to tire himself out, not bothering to respond to such an idiotic question. Bakugou was starting to get even more annoyed that his attacks weren't landing. Are you not taking me seriously, you goddamn pebble? He snarled. Midoriya blinked, causing confusion. I'm supposed to take you seriously. Bakugou let out a howl of rage at that, as he put both his arms back before rocketing himself at Midoriya. I'm going to fucking kill you, Deku. Bakugou shouted to launch a big explosion at Midoriya, as he let his anger get the best of him. Midoriya was waiting for this as he increased his power to 10%. Then combined both All for One and his ranger power to leap behind Bakugou faster than he could anticipate as more electricity was coming off his body with the ranger jumping past Bakugou at an incredible speed. What? Bakugou shouted confusingly as the wind pressure was too strong for him to counter. St. Louis Smash, Midoriya shouted as he was spinning around. He then delivered a devastating kick in a wide arc to Bakugou's head. The kick sent Bakugou twirling around hard on the ground, which makes a body-size Carter on the floor. When he landed back on the ground, Midoriya dispelled his quirk's power from his body as he turned to face Bakugou. Bakugou was struggling to get back on his feet as this was the worst pain he ever felt in his life. No one has ever given him this much trouble in a fight, as he would easily put his opponents in their place with his superior quirk and fighting instincts. But this was different, as Deku was overwhelming him with both power and skill, which Bakugou was refusing to accept due to his prideful nature. You damn nerd. You'll pay for that. Bakugou growled out in frustration as he got back on his feet. By the way, I forgot to tell you something, Kaken. Right now, I'm not even using my full. This is me only using 10% of my power, and I haven't even morphed yet. Midoriya exclaimed, in an attempt to taunt Bakugou, something that was part of their plan. He was going to use Bakugou's anger against him. UA, High School Ground Beta Observation Room afternoon. Meanwhile, everyone watched the villain team completely demolish the hero team in both power and skill. What the hell? Lynta muttered in disbelief. Holy shit, Pony exclaimed in pure shock. Look at them go. It's like watching a kung fu movie. Yurikara said, started to imitate the Rangers' moves. Heck yeah, it's awesome. Setsuna said too. They can't even touch them. Kinoko said as she saw the Rangers avoiding all the other team attacks like it was nothing. Damn, the Rangers' quirks are broken. The hero team can't even land a single hit on them, despite having 2 recommended students. Kaminari commented. Man, they're so opus, Zero added. I know right, Juzo said. If you think that their strength is the result of quirks, you're dead wrong. And need I remind you that Amamiya is quirkless? Aizawa pointed out. What do you mean, sensei? Can't you see how he's dominating this match? Kirishima asked. The Rangers first started their hellish training a year ago to improve each of their physical strength, as their strength went to a whole new level. Midoriya, Jiru, and Yui got better at using their quirks, with Amamiya learning different types of fighting styles since he doesn't have a quirk. They all learn different fighting styles, as well as how to use weapons. So, don't say that their strength is the result of their quirks, because those 4 strengths and skills are the result of training. Aizawa explained. True, you can't judge them based on their power alone, as their skill and experience is what helping them here again the hero team. Vlad King wisely said to the class. Upon hearing this, the whole class 1A and 1B were amazed at the Rangers' achievements. Their respect for their classmates only grew more and more. While I have to agree with you, Aizawa, I'm afraid that's not why the Rangers have the advantage. Young Midoriya was always good at reacting quickly in a crisis, plus his Ranger training also helped to play a big factor. He spent years writing his notes and internalizing them, and his fanboy knowledge is helping him now. It's not that young Bakugou is weak or anything, but young Midoriya knows much more about young Bakugou's quirk than his own quirk and everything about his movements. He's just reading him like a book and is using young Bakugou's anger issues against him. This is why young Amamiya had young Midoriya fight against young Bakugou, not only to win the match but also to have him face his past demons. All Might thought as he stared at his successor and his team through the monitor. His eyes then drifted to Bakugou. Meanwhile, young Bakugou here has little to no info about Midoriya's quirks and abilities, and his judgment is clouded by his anger and pride. He's in denial and can't accept the fact that someone might be stronger than him, especially if that someone was the same person who was considered the weakest of the weakest. He then looked at the other rangers. As for young Amamiya, Jiru, and Kodai, they trained with Tommy to harness their ranger abilities to their fullest potential and receive memories from the past rangers. They spend hours after hours of training to get to this point. Man, but that Bakugou has some serious anger issues, Kurwaro pointed out. I hope he doesn't do anything too dramatic. Aoyama worried said. Don't worry, they're doing fine, and when they transform then it's a game over, Toru stated. If they can transform, Shishida said, pushing up his glass. The hero team probably wouldn't give the villains a chance to do so. I agree, we have already seen firsthand what Amamiya can do when he changes into his costume, Shoji said, making a mouth with his quirk. Imagine what would happen if they all transformed. The other team won't even stand a chance, even if 2 of them are recommended students. UA, High School Ground Beta Observation Room afternoon. Back to the fight in the battle center. The hero team was getting their tails handed to them as the Power Rangers had the upper hand in this fight. Monoma, who was on the sidelines watching all this, was beyond furious with what he was witnessing. What in the hell is going on here? How are they losing to a bunch of Class 1 weaklings? Monoma thought in complete anger. If it wasn't for that cheating quirkless freak, he would still be out there fighting against them. The blonde sorrows to get his revenge on Amamiya if it was the last thing he would do. Todoroki, Momo, and Kendo were all knocked down next to each other as Ren, Yui, and Jiru regrouped with one another a few meters away from the down team. They're just too strong, Kendo said, breathing heavily as she was hurt. Yeah, and I don't even think they have gotten serious yet, Momo said, getting on her knees. Still, we can't quit now, Todoroki said, now back on his feet. We will win this no matter what. He had a determined look in his eyes as he couldn't afford to lose here. Kendo and Momo know what Todoroki meant when he said that. They were going to be heroes someday, and heroes don't quit in the face of danger or powerful villains. Then both girls got back on their feet as best they could despite being hurt. Texas Smash. The voice of Midoriya was heard as they heard screaming next, as both teams felt a brief powerful gust of wind. Agha. Bakugou cried out in pain as he fell to the ground next to his team with the wind dying down. Midoriya suddenly landed next to his team with both him and Ren in the middle, as Yui was on Midoriya's left side and Jiru on Ren's right side. Damn, Midoriya, looks like you were having fun, Jiru commented as she looked at how badly Bakugou was injured. Yui nodded while giving him a congratulatory pat on the back. Thanks, IJJ just did what you guys told me and it worked, Midoriya said nervously as was embarrassed by the girl's comments. And his back, Holo Tommy commented with a joke as Midoriya's personally quickly returned. I know you had it in you, Midoriya, Ren thought in happiness. Bakugou, are you all ready? Momo asked in concern as she was helping him up. Don't touch me, Ponytail. Bakugou slapped her hand away in frustration. Hey, she's trying to help you, jerk, Kendo said to him in an angry tone. I didn't need her help. I'm perfectly fine, Bakugou countered as he didn't want to show any weakness. Clearly you aren't with how badly you're hurt, Todoroki said in a disinterested tone. Nobody asked you half and half, Bakugou shouted while getting up. You extras need to mind your own goddamn business. The Rangers just stood there watching as Bakugou was yelling at his own teammates for just trying to help him. What an inconsiderate idiot, Ren said in disappointment. Agreed, Jiru said, feeling sorry for the other team. Yui nodded in agreement. Kaken, when will you ever learn? Midoriya muttered as he was also disappointed in Bakugou's lack of teamwork. I suggest you quit now, Ren said, getting their attention. It's pretty obvious that you can't beat us. As if I'll give up to Deku and a quirkless loser. Bakugou blasted towards them at high speed with his quirk. You two should be the ones to quit. He was full of naught but rage. Todoroki didn't waste any time as he slammed his left foot on the ground to send ice at them. Midoriya, together, Ren said to him while changing his morpher into the Mystic Morpher and opening it up. Right, Midoriya nodded as he knew what Ren meant and did the same as he brought out his morpher. Jiru and Yui got behind them as they had Fate and their friends. I don't know what you two are planning, but it won't work, Bakugou said as flew at them with Todoroki's ice behind him. Reflect is Targo, both Rangers said as they pointed their morphers to the ground with magical energy coming out of it. Suddenly a giant mirror came out of the ground in front of the Rangers to protect them. You think a shitty mirror going to stop me? Bakugou said with his right hand popping explosions and was ready to attack. Bakugou, I don't think you shall. Kendo tried to warn the boy, but he chose to ignore her. Die. Bakugou fired off an explosion at the mirror only for the explosion to get reflected right back at the blonde. Ag. Bakugou cried in pain as he was hit by his own explosion that pushed him back into Todoroki's ice, freezing him in a block of ice and stopping Todoroki's attack. What just happened? Momo asked in pure confusion. That mirror reflected Bakugou's explosion right back at him, Todoroki explained. What was that idiot thinking, recklessly attacking that mirror without knowing about it? Kendo said in annoyance. Damn it, Bakugou said as his body was freezing. I'm going to kill those two bastards. He then keeps on blasting off explosions to free himself. When the giant mirror disappeared, the hero team noticed that the Rangers were gone. Where'd they go? Todoroki asked, looking around the battle center. They couldn't have gone very far, Momo said, using this time to make a machine gun and rubber bullets with a number of magazines. Bakugou blew away the last of his icy prison as he had a very angry look on his face. He was breathing heavily and his body was reaching its limit. But he wasn't going to quit until he won this and beat the hell out of Deku and the wannabe. Damn it, don't you dare run away from me, you cowards. Quit hiding and come here to die, you power losers. Bakugou yelled as he chased after them. Why don't you look up here then, explosion boy, Midoriya said to him. With that said, the heroes team looked up to see the Power Rangers on the building roof as they were looking down below on the other team. How they've got up there? Kendo asked in curiosity. We jumped, obviously, Jiru said to her. Those guys aren't going to quit, Yui said to her teammates before suggesting something. I think this might be the best time to morph. You know what, Yui? You're right. Let's ranger up, Ren said before changing the Mystic Morpher into the Mobilate and holding it in his left hand. Midoriya held the Mystic Morpher cell phone in his right hand. Jiru makes the Tira-Dino Morpher appear on her left wrist. Yui changes her overdrive tracker into Gosai Morpher as she holds it in her left hand. Everyone who witnessed the Rangers bringing out their Morpher knew what was coming as they were excited to see what would happen next. Guys, heads up, they're going to change into those costumes, Kendo warned her teams. And they'll get even stronger now, Momo said in a worried voice. Finally, now I can beat their asses, Bakugou happily said. Todoroki didn't say anything as he wanted to fight Ren at his best. Ready? Ren asked his teammates. Ready, they shouted back at him. It's morphin' time. They all shouted together as they activated their morphers. Ren flicks the Mobilate Morpher open, then holds up the Pirate Legacy red key with his right hand before flicking it open to reveal a key. He then quickly twisted his body to the right side before posing with the Pirate Legacy red key forward and the Morpher across his chest. Pirate change, Ren shouted before twisting his body once more, then put the key into the Morpher as he turned the lock. When that happened, the Mobilate split open to reveal two blades on the top of the Morpher as it glowed red. Ren then thrust the Morpher forward in front of himself with his right arm back while posing. Jiru pressed the buttons on both sides of her Morpher to open up the mouthpiece on it as its eyes lit up. Dino Thunder, power up. Ha, Jiru shouted while moving her arms to her right side, crossing them together. She then shot her right hand forward with her left arm to her backside. Then Jiru moved her right hand to the Tira-Dino Morpher to activate it. Midoriya flicks the Mystic Morpher cell phone open, presses a button on the side of the Morpher to reveal a ruby tip on the phone, and then types in the code 123. Magical source, Mystic Force, he shouted while doing arm motions before pointing the Mystic Morpher to the sky. Yui pulled the bottom part of the Morpher to open its mouth with its eyes glowed red as she brought it forward. Then Yui brought out a Gosai Pink power card with the card shine for a brief moment. She then pulled her Morpher to the left side before inserting the power card into the Morpher's mouth. Go Megaforce, she shouted before doing arm motions as she shut the mouth on the Gosai Morpher as the eyes glowed green, along with the top part of the head glowing red, and thrust her left hand forward. Morphing sequence, Pirate Legacy, Dino Thunder, Mystic Force, and Megaforce. The background changes to outer space as Ren stands there with his arms down to his side. Then a big red X zoomed through Ren, changing his clothes into a black leotard with the Pirate Legacy logo on the center of his chest and a pair of white gloves. Another big red X zoomed at him again, forming his vest and boots. Suddenly, two smaller red X's appear behind him and form his helmet with the Pirate Legacy logo appearing next on the forehead of the helmet, completing the transformation as his helmet briefly shines for a moment. Jiru pressed the button on the Morpher as the mouthpiece closed with its eyes glowing. Jiru's body was covered in a white suit. Then she moved both of her arms down to her side as the Dino Thunder symbol suddenly appeared on her chest. Jiru then jumps into the air to do a backflip while yellow pieces of the Dino Thunder suit are forming onto her from her neck to her feet before she lands back on the ground as it cracks with lava coming out, while in a pose. As she stood up, Jiru's helmet formed on her head while the Tira Zord roared in the background with lava erupting around the Zord, all while Jiru was posing. Galwit Misto Ranger, a mystery voice announced while a lightning bolt came out of Midoriya's Mystic Morpher, and a magical circle with 5 insignias appeared in the sky. Then a tree-like minotaur descended from the magical circle and appeared before Midoriya as he posed alongside the creature. Midoriya looks up and leaps into the air with ease, going through the magical circle and creating his ranger outfit around him from his neck to his feet. Midoriya lands back on the ground and looks forward with the minotaur insignia behind him, before the helmet with a visor shaped like a minotaur formed around his head. As Midoriya's suit was complete, he took a pose with the cape flowing behind him. The current background changes to a daytime sky with Yui raising both her arms up by the sides as her ranger suit forms from her neck to feet. Then she jumped back to do a backflip while a pink phoenix silhouette flew behind her. As Yui landed on the ground, the phoenix appeared to bite down on her head to form her helmet, with Yui facing forward and multiple Gosei pink power cards lined up behind her as her helmet was slightly shining from the right side. For the others who saw them change into their ranger forms, they saw a big red X coming out of Ren's device as it moved through him, changing his clothes into a leotard and a pair of white gloves with another big red X zooming at him again, forming a vest and boots on him. Suddenly, they saw two smaller red X's appear behind him and create a helmet on his head with a logo appearing on the forehead of the helmet, as his helmet briefly shines for a moment. They saw Jiru press something on her device as she moved both of her arms down to her side, before jumping into the air to do a backflip while seeing multiple pieces of something fly towards her to form her suit from her neck to her feet. When they saw Jiru land back on the ground, she created cracks on the floor with lava coming out while posing. Then when she stood up, her helmet formed on her head as she started to pose. They hear a mysterious voice while Midoriya's morpher shoots out a lightning bolt, and a magical circle with 5 insignias appears in the sky. Then they saw a creature descend from the magical circle and appear before Midoriya as he posed alongside the creature. They were shocked when they saw Midoriya leap into the air with ease, going through the magical circle and forming his suit around him from his neck to feet. They saw Midoriya land back on the ground and then a helmet with a visor shaped like a minotaur formed around his head. Then they saw him take a pose with the cape flowing behind him. They saw Yui raise her arms up by her sides as her ranger suit suddenly appeared on Yui from her neck to her feet, right before she performs a backflip as a pink phoenix silhouette appears and flies behind her. When she landed, they saw the phoenix bite her head to form her helmet. One by one, each of the Power Rangers leaped off the rooftop, front flipping perfectly back down on the ground, a few feet away from the hero team as the students and teachers watching were amazed by this. Then the Hero Force members begin their roll call. Red Pirate Legacy Ranger, Ren shouted while flicking his vest collar with his right hand. He wore a black undersuit. On the center of the suit was a symbol that consisted of 2 swords crossing each other with a key in the center. He wore a red vest that resembled a pirate's jacket with a pop-off collar and a golden belt wrapped around the waist. The front of the helmet resembled a pirate's hat. It had a thin visor with 2 tiers going down on both sides. The emblem on the suit was also printed on the helmet. Tira Power, Yellow Dino Ranger, Jiru shouted while flapping her arms like a pterodactyl's wings before posing with her right arm up in the air and her other hand near her side chest. She wore a yellow suit that had white diamonds across the sleeves on her arms and legs with her morpher attached to her left wrist. Her boots and gloves were cuffed in gold with a skirt that had white diamonds on each side as a blaster hanging on the right side of her belt. The chest insignia was the foot of a reptilian creature with 3 toes and a spur in the back. The helmet resembled that of a pterodactyl, as the visor had a beak-like design that resembled the mouth of a bird with 2 black eyes painted above the visor and a fin on the top. Midoriya grabs his cape with his right hand and twirls around to his left before stopping. Then a green magical circle appears behind him, as the earth around him breaks apart while he is doing poses. Strong as a tree, Green Mystic Ranger, Midoriya shouted while doing a pose, surrounded by a forest full of trees. Flames of the Phoenix, Megaforce Pink Ranger, Yui shouted while striking poses with the top part of the Megaforce logo on her helmet glimmering for a brief moment. She wore a pink shirt with long sleeves that cut off right above her waist. The shirt had a yellow outline and an angelic symbol with a silver belt and gold buckle as the Gosei morpher and blaster was attached on each side of the belt. The helmet of the Pink Ranger had a wide, black visor with a gray mouth mold. On the edges of the visor were 2 birds printed in black. Right above the visor was an emblem that had a similar design to the chest insignia. Rangers forever, heroes all together. The 4 of them shouted together in sync for everyone to hear while getting into new poses. Power Rangers Hero Force. The Hero Force Rangers shouted as 4 smoke clouds exploded in their respective colors behind them, before a second explosion mixed with the colorful smoke as the Power Rangers lightning bolt logo appeared behind them, leaving everyone watching this stunned in amazed and awe. Power Rangers Hero Force members. Ranamamiya Ranger forms. All, Quirk, Quirkless, leader of the Hero Force Rangers. Izukumidoriya Ranger forms. Green Mystic Ranger, Quirk, one for all. Yui Kodai Ranger forms. Red Overdrive Ranger, Megaforce Pink, Quirk, size. Kyokajiru Ranger forms. Jungle Fury Wolf Ranger, Yellow Dino Ranger, Quirk, Earphone Jack. Momoye Yarazu Ranger forms. Unknown, Quirk, creation. And 13 more Rangers to join in. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 7. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.